we're doing it pretty bad.
Woohoo!
Pretty
that
bad
was a
impression.
great way to start the podcast. Glad no one heard those bad Chicago accents.
Welcome to From the Ground Up podcast, where we talk to all types of people about
all types of things.
All types of things that are
Except
cold-blooded related. So, PortCityPythons.com, we have some animals available, and thank you to everyone who came out and said that they listened to the podcast or just watched YouTube videos or wherever you guys found us. Thank you so much for coming up to us, whether it was in Oaks or White Plains. We had a great time. And as you can see, we are still sharing headphones. Why are we still sharing headphones? Well,
because Joe literally to the worst of his ability or the best of his ability, the way you look at it, is really good at breaking earphones, whether it's just his ear sweat killing them or
wicked ear sweat
or dropping them out of cars and them getting run over, or washing them in the washing machine, or like literally. So if you watched last week, we were sharing earphones because they got run over and I hadn't ordered new ones. I ordered new ones, and guess what Joe did to the old ones? He washed them. So we're sharing again. I will order new ones. Let's see how long this lasts. I've never met someone who destroys earphones faster than him.
Yep. So there you go. There's your earphone story. Got it out of the way. That's your only That's our only earphone story of the podcast.
Let's get it out so people don't ask us. But
and they're blue, like they stand out a lot.
Yeah, it's just their love.
Right. And if you guys see those cool stickers behind us, and if you want to be on this sweet wall, which may or may not be a wall, I don't know. Up with Ian, Tony, Jeff, Austin. Oh, you were supposed to
Snake Man BK.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know your real name.
We forgot.
We'll have to actually talk to you.
We do.
Oh yes,
Brendan.
Brendan.
We're terrible.
Thank you. And if you guys want to send us stickers, just hit us up on Instagram.
Yes, we'll send you our address
or wherever the hell you
add to this. But other than that, like Joe said, we have t-shirts available. We will be at the next show in Gettysburg,
PA. We're coming for you.
Okay, that makes it sound way more intense.
Coming for you.
But November 23rd.
Over 100 tables of amazing vendors.
Are you done?
I'm talking in between your spaces.
I get that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I like it.
Oh.
I wasn't confused.
I thought we were doing a
good
announcement.
Okay. That only works when I say like one word, then you say one word, or what, like back and forth. It doesn't work when I'm saying a full sentence and you just cut it.
Oh.
But cool, great intro, guys.
Tried our best.
November 23rd, Gettysburg show, but we still have snakes available on the website. But if you are interested in getting one of our snakes and you live out of state, please order within the next month, because not
only is it cold, but it's also holiday season, and I don't want to mess with the month of December. It scares me.
Yes.
And plus we have things like our last honey pair. If you wanted to get in on that project, this is going to be like one of your last chances, because honestly we sell at least a couple honeys every show that we do. Therefore that pair will no longer be available after probably Spaghettisburg. So make sure you jump on that, because that's our last pair altogether. Last male, last female.
Yes. But like Joe said, it gets cold and shipping gets wonky. So we'd really like to stop shipping by probably Thanksgiving week. So get your orders in. Obviously, if it's t-shirts or stuff like that, we'll still ship. Will you still ship springtails or no?
Yes. I'll try my best. And we're going to do something for Black Friday. We got to figure out something to do for Black Friday.
What do you mean? You say you don't believe in Black Friday.
No, I don't. Like as a human.
You believe it as a seller, but not as a buyer.
People love it. I don't.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Joe won't go out with me. I think it's fun and exciting. And
I dislike the going out and fighting over a color TV type of thing.
I don't know why I had to say color
TV like I'm 85.
Are there non-color TVs out there anymore, babe?
Flat screen LCD TVs. They are everywhere.
Oh God,
we're fighting over them.
This is the worst intro we've had in a while. Other than that, we do have great t-shirts. I think we've said that 3 times. Yeah. I don't know. Let's just go to our guest.
So today's guest, you may have seen our guests on our YouTube videos or on about every YouTuber's video from Tinley. I just saw them popping up in all types of and all different kinds of videos. So today's guests are Colin and Mike from Crosstown Exotics. They do traveling exotic shows, education shows, basically across the whole Chicagoland area. So welcome, Colin and Mike. So Colin, we've had you on before.
Yep, Ader, George, here, Melissa.
Joining you from the great city of Chicago.
Yep, up here and just coming off a good Bears win. So good Hawks win, good Bears, good Bulls. Doing pretty good. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mike. Yeah.
My name's Jeff.
Yeah. You're trying to stop yourselves from laughing before you guys got on, and had a laughing face.
Oh, yeah.
So, Mike, how did you first get into? Obviously, we got Colin's backstory. If you guys want to hear that, go back to our episode. But, Mike, how did you get started in reptiles or bugs or amphibians, any of that?
So I've basically been into bugs like as long as I can remember. As a kid, I was always like flipping logs and rocks, things like that. Had like a million critter keepers and pickle jars with holes in the top. And then I started getting into reptiles. I want to say I randomly caught a salamander, and then it like just progressed from there. I think it was in 4th grade. Caught this salamander in Michigan. So basically I legally poached it and then put it in a jar for the rest of its life. Yeah, no, it was cool. It was had it for a long time, and then I want to say I got into snakes after that, and then it just kind of progressively went from there. I was actually kind of thinking about this, like how to like word all this and like when did I get into stuff, and I started thinking when I was younger. I went snake hunting with this kid that I knew, and I met him. It's kind of a weird story, I guess, not to like do too long of a thing, but my family was on some hard times. We were living in a hotel. And I met this kid that lived in the trailer behind the hotel. And he's like, hey, do you want to come snake hunting with me and my dad? I knew this kid for like 2 days. So my mom lets me get in like a white creeper van. So the kid's dad would go collect tires behind buildings and stuff. And then had this spot in Indiana where people just threw garbage. And it was like the best snake catching like spot ever. But like I was thinking back, I'm like, my mom let me get in a van with these people and just go across state lines. Like I might not have come back, but after that, me and that kid would go snake hunting all the time. There was a subdivision getting set up, so we were always like in the retention ponds catching like tadpoles and frogs. And then after that, it was just keeping like native stuff. And then high school came along. I got my first tarantula, got a couple emperor scorpions, and then I went to my first Tinley. And that was I think that was the first time I actually met Colin. He was like sitting on the ground, like looking at all these animals he bought. Had them all out at like the same time. He had his Burm and some little tegus. Like, oh, I got this stuff. And
he had a snapping turtle.
I bought a snapping turtle. And then I think we didn't really talk again until, it was like wrestling season or something, because we were both in wrestling. Because I had friends that like would be like, hey, you ever meet that Colin guy? And I was like, no. And I talked to one of my good friends about him. Like, hey, you know this Colin kid? Everyone keeps telling me like he's into reptiles and stuff too. And they're like, he's kind of weird because he farted in a Tupperware container and opened it on the bus to Six Flags, and it still smelled. And I didn't get to meet him until like high school because of this weird like backstory on this kid that farted in a container. Yeah. But ever since then, yeah, we've been pretty close. It was like one of those, we started talking about geckos or something, and then yeah, it was all kind of just progressed from there.
So did you guys have any idea, I mean, what you wanted to do with reptiles at that point when you were at Tinley? I mean, you started obviously a menagerie at the time because you got a KU and a Burm
and
like a snapping.
That
starts like a great educational program already.
Yeah, we actually worked for another guy for a little bit doing shows, and then his company started going down, kind of fizzling out. And then I want to say it was right after Colin and I did the thing with Statesville. We did a little production thing. We brought a couple snakes, some roaches, and a tarantula. And then after that, we were like, he kind of started talking about Crosstown and everything, and kind of just went from there. Like, we sat down, we're like, how do we want to do this? And throwing around name ideas and stuff like that. And then it just, every year, it just kind of kept building and building.
Nice. And you guys, I mean, obviously you guys were at Tinley, but I mean, how did you like it as far as the crowd, and also, I mean, you guys were in so many videos, and I saw you guys popping up everywhere.
We were in like a prime spot with that. Like we just, I guess based on all the other YouTubers there, like our sign was stupid big, so it just showed.
That was true.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked the show. I had a good time. Met a lot of people. I mean, sales wise, like I mean, I was selling cactus and cockroaches, so I mean that's kind of a weird thing to sell. But I sold out of all my cactus, sold some roaches, and then just a lot of you know, promoting Crosstown and meeting people. And you know, some of our goals were to meet some like, you know, Snake Discovery and Cusco and stuff, trying to just have a conversation like, hey, we're Crosstown, you know.
Drink Dr. Pepper with Melissa.
Exactly, yes.
So I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
But no, I think we had we went in there with some objectives, and I mean, came out better than I think we thought we would have.
Yeah, so. And I didn't spend all the money I brought with me, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I go in there with like $500. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy this or that, and it's all gone. And I actually left with money in my pocket, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and what's it like? I mean, having Tinley as your hometown show.
Amazing.
I mean, that's pretty
fortunate. Yeah, yes. Like one of those where we don't have to book hotels or anything. Like realistically, I think when I GPSed it, I'm like 7 to 10 minutes away from the convention center.
Wow.
Yeah, I live on like a farm that's in Tinley, which is weird because it's Tinley, but I moved into a farm over the summer, which is cool. And I've never really been that far away in general. I think Colin's house is, what are you, like 15 minutes or so?
Maybe.
So I mean, you guys must travel in your area a lot, though. I mean, you're used to traveling around there.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do all kinds of traveling. I mean, I think the furthest I've gone is like, was it 2 hours? Or was it was that library that was like
probably up near like
it's like
around the Wisconsin Rockford area.
Yeah.
About there. Loves Park. So
have you had to turn down people because they're just too far and you don't want to travel that far?
It's usually out of state stuff, and honestly, like we still work our 9 to 5, so like stuff that is for us to go out of state, it would have to be worth our while. Like it'd have to be like an all-day event for a certain price, because the time that it would take us to do like, you know, like a birthday party or something like that, you know, in the 6 hour commute that it would take to get there and back, we could have accomplished, you know, 3 or 4 shows. Just in a tighter group of areas.
And we only get so many vacation days.
Right.
Like pretty much Tinley, I think this past October show was like one of the longest like kind of weekends I've had. Cause a lot of times it's all my vacation days are used to go do shows that are booking during the week. Even a lot of like I think I get 5 personal days, and like 3 of them were used on doing shows and stuff like that. Cause we're only allotted so many days off type thing. Same thing with Colin, you know, he gets so many days, and it can get kind of rough, and one of those like you just wish you could take a week off because you have these days. Mm-hmm. You know, it is what it's like when you're trying to start a business to get it going. It's just sacrificing all that free time that other people get kind of thing. But I don't know what else I would do. I don't really go on vacation in general.
We used to go on vacations.
We did, yeah. We actually would go places here.
We started going to zoos.
Yes,
there's an awesome picture with us at the Milwaukee Zoo riding a caterpillar into the sunset, which is great.
I'm a little confused, but it sounds like fun.
Yeah, they had a bug thing going on, and like I forgot what we did. We did a show at like this Harley Davidson thing that was local here, and then we took off, met up at a Repticon that I think was up there, and it was like literally Milwaukee 2 tables. Repticon. It was like the local herp group.
Not to poo-poo on Repticon because they're
awesome, but it was like some little herp club that was there. This guy with a bunch of wild caught half dead things, and then I think our buddy Kai, who doesn't he dissolved everything, right? The urban herper. Yes. He used to have all kinds of like just
he was big on product. He used to do a lot of animals, and then he's like, it's easier to like store product without them dying
and stuff. So. But then we went up there, and we would try to go to like different zoos. And that lasted like a year, and then Crosstown really just started picking up.
Yeah, so we didn't really have a choice anymore. My girlfriend mandates me at least 2 to 3 days a year is dedicated to vacation. So
and I'm awkward and single. So
California and prehistoric pets. And that was, I mean, we did like Universal Halloween Horror Nights. We did Disneyland. Yeah, Disneyland. And we went to Monster Palooza, which was awesome. But yeah, seeing prehistoric pets, I was like, if we're going to be out there, we got to see it. So
Yeah, and I figure that, that's kind of probably what we would do. We would call like Florida vacation and then go to
right. If
we would do work, which is fun.
We can't take vacations without them being snake related because there's so many snake related vacations.
Sure.
You know,
it's like why pass up the opportunity when you're over there to do those things and experience those things. So I think that's a good plan.
Next weekend, and I was like, what's in Nashville? I mean, other than like drinking, barbecue, the Predators, country music, Grand Ole Opry, I don't know, donuts. I'm sure they got donuts. But we're gonna go to the National Zoo, and I don't think there's anything other. I mean, unless people can, I don't know, tell us if there's more reptile stuff in Nashville, but I don't think Nashville's a big reptile city. Not to say Tennessee isn't, but I don't think
they have so many laws against, specifically like colubrids and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So the corn snake permit, something like just to own one. How much?
Really?
Are corn snakes native? Like, can you find them?
Oh yeah, yeah. Is that like a northern region for them to?
Because it is native, I believe.
Okay. I even think that there are some parts of Illinois that has corn snakes.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Supposedly the Nashville Zoo reptile house is impressive.
All right, cool. Well, then I'll let you know.
See,
I'm sure I'll like Insta FaceTime, Gram it, Snap Story, or whatever they call it.
He'll probably add a Gram and Facebook Story.
Right.
He's big on pictures. I'm not so much. That's why a lot of people never. I get it all the time where people don't think I'm affiliated with Crosstown because it's like all Colin taking pictures. Like I'm not photogenic kind of thing, and he's just taking pictures and that sort of thing. So, or I get a lot of times people are like, "Do you work for Colin?" I'm like, no.
He gets really mad about that. Like he gets all red.
Well, it's only happened like once or twice where someone's like, "Can you get your boss?" I'm like,
half the time though, it's because I tell people to say that, and that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is. I think it's like it's hard because I think you need two pretty much different people if you're going to be partners. You need to kind of be opposites, and therefore, like Colin obviously doesn't mind the attention and being out there and taking pictures with everyone and doing that kind of stuff. So I mean, you guys
a lot like doing shows. I can get up in front of it and like do a presentation stuff, no problem. But when it comes to calling someone to be like, "Hey, this is what we have to offer," I'm like, what?
It's not even this is what we have to offer, but I guess it's more of the spiel of like, this is what we do, whatever. And
being a I don't say salesperson, but
salesperson. But
I mean, there is like a sales aspect.
It's not like we're cold calling people, but when we do get approached, it's better to have stuff to say. No, but I mean, I feel like we both have our times where it's like I'm not feeling super outgoing, and then he picks up the slack. So I mean, there's times where it's like we're totally different, but we're also the same at the same time. Like once you get each other, like we get each other going, like it's I feel like this kid's got more on me.
Or we can complement each other in regards to like Colin will be like have some super grand idea, and then I try to draw it in a little more like, hey, we gotta come to this realization here of like reality. We can't do this or that, or we could do this, but we have to cut off this thing, or those kind of situations. Or sometimes too, like I'm just like I'll have an idea and I'll be like, that's kind of dorky, like selling cactus, and then I sell out of all the cactus, and I just got to rub it in because he was like, why are you gonna sell cactus? It's in me, and I'm like, I'll sell it all. Or I don't know if he on the last one he always the isopod thing.
He came up to me with a cup of dirt. Yeah, and I go, dude, someone dirt, you idiot.
Yeah, I bought a thing of Giant Canyon isopods.
What year was that?
That was 2013.
So like when isopods were like not even
before they were cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Same year I got my Mexican black king snakes for $40 a piece.
Yeah. Wow. Just before they were cool.
Right.
Yep. And I bought them. I kept them in this little shoebox container. And was it last year or the year before? I had a company I was like, hey, I'll sell you this whole group of isopods for $1,500, and they were like, okay.
A very reputable company.
Yeah, and they just didn't. They didn't negotiate or anything. I just showed up with my 4-foot tote, and they took them all. And then I was like, hey, remember when you made fun of me? So
and then I go, all right, you win.
And that was like, I think I made like a couple thousand off these 15 isopods.
I may need some advice because I have dwarf whites and I want them to multiply, but they're just slowly crawling along.
So with like what I do with like my isopods, I feel like I'm not the normal, like, yeah, you gotta have dead leaves. Like everyone's all like dead leaves. I do like Missouri tortoise chow, sweet potatoes, carrots,
Styrofoam.
You know, like the styrofoam backgrounds to the Exoterra tanks. I broke one of those up and they were eating it, mostly because I saw that they were taking chunks out of it, but it worked as like a surface area for them to crawl on, and it slowly just started disappearing. And then egg crates, like, you know, when you get crickets. I've also done where, well, you guys probably don't have a lot of cricket eating things, but like you buy a box of 1,000 crickets, you get like the frass and like the cricket corpses, and I would dump that in the pods and they would eat it. So like, I guess I'm doing more like nutrient dense items, but I don't
cricket.
You know, like everyone's really big. I mean, I get it. Like the substrate's important with a lot of those decomposers, like the millipedes and stuff, but I've had really good luck not worrying about collecting like a ton of oak leaves or buying like a bunch of oak leaves from a company, or, you know, having 8 different components to my substrate. Like my isopods do pretty solid. Same thing with my millipedes. They do pretty well. Like I try to, like, I might buy like a little bag of like some of the hardwood stuff they have. Like I get a lot of stuff from Bugs in Cyberspace. But I don't do the whole where I kind of freak out like a lot of other people seem to do, if that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, Missouri tortoise chow they really like. Or what I've done too with some of my things is rabbit food. I'll soak like rabbit pellets in water and it expands and gets fluffy, and then I'll kind of lay it on the top and they go nuts for that.
Interesting. So it seems like you're providing a lot more protein than I am. I would guess.
Like more, I think like more nutrient dense food in general. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing dead leaves, like, yeah, there's a lot of like, you know, stuff in there for them, but like, you know, if you're giving them like this vitamin packed, like, you know, pelleted food, I feel like you're going to get more growth out of them. But, you know, I don't want to get trolled or something and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't do dead leaves, you know?
Yeah. It's just, people don't realize that things work in different ways.
Like I didn't have a good spot for dead leaves, and then I just kind of got lazy with it. And I'm like, I'm not going to collect these. They're doing just fine. And it took off from there. So
yeah, see, mine was like,
I got the dwarf whites. I got the purples, the giant canyon isopods, the zebra ones. I have some of those. I can't think what they're called. The clown isopods. I think it's the Kungla or something. Yeah. I think that's it for right now. When I moved, I had a couple of my colonies died off on me. So,
you know, it's also interesting. I didn't know isopods were being done in our house currently.
Tom, listening to the podcast, sent me some isopods.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Friend of the show. Yeah. This was like 4 months ago.
Such a great.
Why are there bugs?
Being single is like I just get to buy whatever I want, and then I just have to justify with myself. Like sometimes, why did you get that? And I'm like, because I thought it was cool. And like sometimes it's cool, and we end up using it for shows, and sometimes I just end up with a bunch of earwigs all over the place.
I thought that was a cool purchase, though.
Yeah,
but they just didn't pan.
Or there was one time where I ordered something online, and I was like, Colin, can you go pick this up from the post office?
Oh my god!
And they were like some I can't remember the name.
They were the scarabs from the Mummy,
like Arizona. Like they're like these green June bugs, I think, or something. I can't remember the common name, but I got them on like a auction group, and Colin picked them up and he opened them. I'm like, can you just check and see if they're alive? And I'm on the phone with them, and all of a sudden I'm like, I hear him go, ah, let it fly. And he's like screaming. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, he opened the container and all these beetles flew out.
I'm like, they have wings. They have wings.
It was, I think he got almost all of them out of the car. I think one lived in there for like a week.
Yeah, hopefully the Department of Natural Resources is not listening, because a couple definitely got out.
We go through winter, they would freeze over. But
dude, you did not tell me they had wings.
Well, I didn't think they were gonna fly. Like,
dude,
you know, we opened the box and they just flew, out.
Oh god,
yeah.
I would have PTSD.
Sometimes, you know.
Well, we did have a table that was riddled with crickets this weekend.
Oh yeah. When we were at Oaks, there was Joe like would scratch and there'd be a cricket on him, and then they'd be in my
I just felt something go across my neck.
One was like going in my jacket. I don't know where they were coming from, because the table right behind us was a supplies table, and the guy next to us had balls and berms and stuff, and then to the right they had balls too. So I don't know where these crickets were coming from, but they were all over the floor around us.
We'll probably opened the box on accident and they all got out. But I got crickets all over my garage. They're breeding in my tortoise pen. Sometimes I can shake off a log to get baby ones if I need them, but they're kind of all over.
But be careful though. I know you guys just put in that new plywood background on that wall, but the crickets will get in there and they're hard to get out. So
just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Maybe take the panels every now and then, but
I am an exterminator. If you need me to come out there, I could probably take a look.
Yes, come right behind us while we're doing the show. Come on, look at all the different places.
Don't make too much noise though.
You guys are talking about itching and stuff. I told earlier today I had to do bed bug inspections in a multi-unit housing thing, and that's the only time I get itchy for the rest of the day because I've never brought bed bugs home, but I just don't want to, and I think about it, and it's out of all the bugs I have to deal with at my normal job, it's bed bugs.
That's probably a good reason to trim your beard every once in a while.
Yeah, if it's when I'm on my belly looking at stuff and my beard touches the ground, then I'm it's time to give it a little trim because despite I kind of joke about this at some of our shows, I tell kids I'm I like animals so much that I got a job killing them during the week, and then on the weekends I tell you kids how cool they are. But I'm in restaurants and whatnot, so I got to watch not dragging my beard on some greasy floor or somebody's apartment that's got bed bugs type thing. So
yeah, I tell Mike, I'm you can do whatever you want, just don't bring anything back here. Okay, this is our sacred ground. Okay.
So you're do you do extermination of any home pests like rodents?
Yeah, I do rats and mice. We do some bird work, and before anyone gets butthurt about the bird work stuff, it's usually pigeons can cause all kinds of structural damage. The fecal material buildup can be terrible. And then we also handle house sparrows and starlings, which are invasive here. So, because I know some people are oh, you're killing the birds. It's not as bad as you might think with that. And then we also do bed bugs, roaches.
Spiders.
Yeah, we do spiders. I mean, a lot of I think they have a list of 40 different pests that we take care of at our job. But a lot of times some of the materials I use will take care of anything with 6 or more legs, if that makes sense. With the exception, the termite treatments are a little different. Bed bug treatments are a little different. Some of your other woodborne, our stored product pests, things like meal moths and carpet beetles and things like that. So it's not a cool job where I'm taking care of bugs. I get to do that at home, but I still get to look for bugs every day and work with that sort of thing, which I think is kind of cool. Because one of those when you're going to school and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. One of my professors brought up pest management, and I was maybe I'll give it a whirl. And I've been with this company 5 years roughly, and pretty cool. Seen a lot of neat things. I bring home some praying mantis here and there that we use for presentations. I've actually booked a couple shows from park districts that we do. I'm people start talking oh, you're really into these bugs. You seem to know a lot. And I'm hey, I do this on the side. A couple weeks ago, I actually got a black widow. I opened up one of my traps, and I'm oh, that's cool. Ran to my car and got a water bottle. Took her home. She's still doing pretty solid. So, yeah.
So does that benefit you having bug knowledge previous?
Kind of. I mean, I think it does. With identifying some things and looking for harbor spots, spots that you're if I was a roach, I'd be here. Kind of. I know it sounds weird, but there is. You got to when you're in some of these facilities, you got to think of if I was this animal, where would I hide at, or where am I gonna try to make more of these animals, kind of thing. So,
are most exterminators into bugs, or are you a
you definitely
diamond,
can't be squeamish?
Are you a diamond in the rough?
No, there's well, at least with the company I work for, I actually have a guy that one of my coworkers that's super into inverts, and he's helped me actually quite a bit. I thought I knew stuff. And then I met Mark, and he was just telling me all these random facts and just different things he does to take care of, his roach collection. Some of the rabbit food stuff, I learned from him, or he kind of he's given me stuff too. Hey, I breed these roaches or this, and then all of a sudden I got a colony now because he gave it to me. But I don't think it's as unique as you might think, because in Illinois, the company I work for was doing their bug zoo, where basically the guy I worked with, Mark, would set up some cages, kind of do something similar to Colin and I do, but it was at a little children's museum. And then there's another company that does something at a children's museum where they bring bugs. I think they're called Men in Black Pest Control or something. But yeah. they bring some bugs for kids to see. So I don't think it's as unique as it might sound.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
for nuisance removal on like raccoons and possums and stuff like that.
I could imagine that that's where it gets weird, when you gotta like grab animals that may bite you and scratch you.
I've only had to trap one raccoon so far. All the other times I've had to go out for stuff, it ended up the animal left, or we didn't have to do it because like I get like I'm supposed to like do a certain job, but I don't necessarily like killing animals because we euthanize everything, which is like, I know it's sad, but it's just my company's policy on things. One, you don't want to let a raccoon go and then it go back in that person's house too. And I know the DNR out here has some strict guidelines on how far you let it go, where you let it go. Skunks all have to be euthanized, kind of thing. That's kind of just when you have that permit, you have to follow those laws. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And was Colin always cool with bugs, or did you have
Colin's been with reptiles. I mean, he's had bugs and stuff. He's had like tarantulas and some roaches. Yeah. Him and I have kind of gotten to a point though where like, I've done way better with frogs and toads and bugs and things. And Colin's like, he's good with lizards and snakes. We both have turtles and tortoises, but we've kind of got our own little niches on what we keep. Like I know when we first started Crosstown, he had a couple of, he had tarantula and some roaches for whatever. And then it slowly just turned into like, I keep all these animals, he keeps all these animals. And it kind of just works out that way. This way, we're both not like just overwhelmed with, a huge collection.
Sure.
Plus, I'm sure you can share some animal. I mean, you can go to each other's collections and play with whatever the hell one or the other has.
Sure. Yeah, and we do that. I mean, we actually do that fairly often. Like,
we've kind of talked about that. We're like I wanted to get a tegu for a while, but Colin's got him. So it's like when I'm doing shows, I can just go, hang out with Vito or Blue, the tegus that we use. And then I don't have to house one at my house. Or same thing with like our caiman lizard, when he's wanting to hold it or work with it. It's like, I bring it over, he comes over. Same thing with the frogs and stuff. And like the monkey tail skinks is another one. Like And
he does a lot of stuff I like. I wish that I had like the space to do. And also like almost like I don't want to say the knowledge to do, because I think if I really tried, it's just more of a time issue. He's actually better time management when it comes to like the terrariums and, keeping amphibians and these like living ecosystems and things like that. With me, it's like, if I can't sterilize it with, like foam quat or, chlorhexidol or something like that, it's like, Mike's like, no, you gotta let it live. You gotta let it breathe. And you gotta let these, and it's so cool. I'll sit there and look at some of these enclosures that he's have. But no, at first I was not like, I couldn't hold spiders. Like I was like, I don't trust spiders at all. And he was moving from like an apartment somewhere, and I had the tarantulas. I probably had 15 tarantulas.
It was one of those. I was finishing college, and I was kind of doing some transitioning. Like I was living with a buddy, and then I was moving into my aunt's basement for a bit. So yeah, I had like 15 tarantulas. I was like, hey, I need you to keep these for a minute, and
I like forced myself. I'm like, all right, well, these are going to be here for a couple months. I'm gonna force myself to hold them, and it was like I felt like, what was it, Tom Green and was it Euro Trip or
Road Trip?
Where I'm sitting like behind the head of the bed, like, all right, I'm gonna touch you. I'm gonna touch you, spider. Like, and I eventually did. And if he's scared, I'm scared. So I kind of go off of what he's comfortable with. So he's like, no, it's cool. I'm like, okay, cool. I know it's not gonna bite me. But yeah, normally like my fear base or my caution base is with what he's cautious with. So,
and we're only I'm not one of those people that holds tarantulas that I know are like aggressive. Like I'm not going to hold the Goliath bird eater just on my hands like that, because I know, one, they're super flighty. So I feel like it's more of a risk for that spider to fall, break a leg or something like that. And like I don't want it. I just feel like it's too risky for the animal. But we do have a lot of I have a Chaco golden knee, our salmon pink bird eater. She's pretty tolerable. Like I can handle her. Did you guys see her at Tinley? The big spider I was handling?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I brought
that. I probably blocked it out of my memory.
If you look at like my Facebook profile pic, it's me holding her. Name's Wednesday. But yeah, typically I'm only going to hold tarantulas that I know are tolerable with handling. I have some that are kind of like like some of the pink toes, like they'll be chill and then they just kind of cruise up your arm or something. But during our presentations and stuff, it's usually I'm not walking around with anything that I'm going to be nervous with, where it's going to just jolt out of my hand. Because we have a friend that I've seen her hold some stuff, and I'm like, you're brave. Like, you're braver than I am with that, because I'm not about to try to, that animal accidentally lay into your hand, or like I said, they jump off and, break a leg or something.
I mean, sometimes it's good to be like that, because that's how you break those barriers of like knowing what animals are comfortable with, but instead of going off of the notion that these animals are that way, you know what I'm saying? So it's like with green anacondas. I mean, they're fire hoses with teeth, but you start working with them almost like toques. I mean, when I saw someone walking around with the first toque for the first time, I was like, it's not gonna take off your earlobes. Like, what is, what's gonna, but again, I think that, again, those people can do what they want to do with the Goliath bird eaters, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just, take your own risks. And
is there a certain amount of behavior that you can read on a tarantula?
I feel like some spiders, I feel like when it gets tense, I don't know how to describe it, but like sometimes you're just like, they don't feel like they're putting their weight on you, if that makes sense. Like I have one that I can tell when she's being weird, because like it doesn't seem like she's like settling down. She keeps moving. I got to move my hands to hold her. And then I have some, like my Chaco Golden Knee, it's like I just scoop her up and she just sits there. But it's I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe like they're like being able to read them. It's like one of those just working with the animal. I feel like it can tell from holding her. So
I can't even imagine that. To me, I'm like, you're still. You continue to be still. You lift up this leg. Oh, and then you're still. And
we had that cool. What was that? Was that a?
Let's not say cool.
Something whatever knee.
Oh, no. Travis,
they all have different colored knees.
I don't know their names.
Oh, was it the white knee? I think I saw a picture of it. It was like a big.
This was so big.
No, this was after Bill Bradley's. They held a rose here, I think. Bill had you guys hold a rose here, right?
Yeah. Well,
but I think it's like something geniculata. It's a big white knee, kind of like a black reddish abdomen. Isn't that what you guys were holding?
Geniculata is Italian ice cream, dude.
Yeah, this thing was like, it was doing a threat display and had its legs up. It was super cool. It was super like I would not.
Or was it? There's a couple that look very similar. There's one that's pretty chilled, and then there's one that'll like rear up in Nidu chromatis. I know these spider names change all the time. Like I stopped trying to memorize them after a while, because it's like this month it's this name, and then a couple months later they change it. So
yeah. So you guys have that same thing to where some people call like green tree pythons or Morelia viridis, and that's been changed for like 8 years now, but people still say the old name and stuff like that.
Can you see?
Well, that just looks like a big old tarantula.
I can pull it up on my.
Oh shit!
It's pretty looking though. I just saw the banding on the legs.
Type it up on the Port City Pythons here on Instagram.
No, it's not on ours. It's on our friend Travis's, so that won't be helpful.
Yeah, we just posted.
Hold on, y'all keep talking. I can post the. I can.
Oh yeah, we can actually like put it on the podcast, like good hosts here.
I do remember, like in high school, I think like the king baboon tarantulas had one scientific name, and now it's like P. muticans or something, I think. And then there was a Aviculara versicolor, I think is a Aviculara carabina or something now. I know a couple of like the hobby ones change, but it's one of those, like I try to know some of them, but at the end of the day, when you're at like a kid's birthday party, they don't really care about, you might get some, you'll get that one random kid that's really into it that might ask like, hey, what's the scientific name? And, some of them we remember, but it's not like when you talk to someone who works at a zoo and you're like, can you use a common name? Because I don't know what you're talking about. Or like in college, I remember my professor, like whether it was like a mouse or prairie grass, it was like this, nothing but the scientific name. Like I get it because like common names are so different, but.
How do kids typically react to the spiders?
Versus the snakes. Yeah, compare the snake reactions to the spider reactions.
I would think like those are both pretty, like when you get people with phobias, we seem to get like snakes and spiders are the biggest. But usually because I'm bringing out something that's calm and we're presenting it in like a very like laid back, controlled environment, that it's not as bad. So like, my one spider, Annabelle, she'll just sit in my hand, doesn't move. And then usually what I try to do when I have a kid hold something is I'll have them put their hand in my hand, and sometimes I just kind of hold their hand a little bit, because I've had it where kids, like, as soon as the feet touch it, they do this, and throw it or try to.
You can feel it too, like where
they instantly try to pull back.
Well, you won't hold your hand; you hold their wrist.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, the toe thing in the back looks weird. But...
That's Travis's toes.
Yeah, I was like, what is?
Oh man. And I can't stop looking at his toes.
This spider
that's what that is. They have a couple babies we're raising up with those.
They're so big. And it's
if you go on like my Facebook and look at the profile picture, it's me holding Wednesday. She's a Parahybana, the salmon pink bird eater. She'll get bigger than that one in his hands.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, man, it was like pretty jarring, just because we were used to the I think it may have actually been a Chilean red knee or whatever that Bill
rose hair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. You guys are snake people.
yeah, but it was like, I got used to that, and that seemed normal. And then he lifts up the hide on this thing, and I'm like, oh,
that's next level.
That's like a different animal now.
Yep.
And two, we always kind of, to Mike's point, anytime we do the spiders or the snakes, they're typically our last animals, because in the reptile show, snakes are our last animals because it's our largest, at least in lengthwise.
Yeah.
And we try to vary it up with small to big animals throughout the show. So like we
start with our bugs,
right?
Then we move to like amphibians,
right? But we'll do like our 2-pound African giant bullfrog, then we go to the small toad, and then we do mortis, the 70-pound tortoise, and then we go back down to a smaller turtle. Big, so it's like it's big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, and we typically do snakes last because, again, it's the biggest, but also it works out because the audience is just getting to know us from the first animal. And so by the time we get to snakes, we have built up a trust with an alligator snapping turtle, an alligator, a tegu, things that, are intimidating, but the manner in which we interact with the animals and how the animals conduct themselves, speaks volumes for, I think, the dedication that we have to what we do. And so it's the same thing with the spiders, is that the last animal that we typically do is the spider, or our scorpion or whatever. But people are generally emotionally ready to accept that, hey, they've already got the scariest thing that was on the list of animals they have, I'm ready for, because the way that they've conducted themselves and presented themselves through this entire presentation, they're ready to go. So, and again, we don't go into every show saying, hey, we're going to convert people into snake people or spider people, but it is literally just a byproduct of how well we've planned out our programs and the way that we conduct ourselves throughout the programs, that it is just a byproduct of our show and our presentation.
And the animals too. I mean, like when we're, like he was saying, like when we're with a lot of our stuff that we use, it's not a crazy, it's going to run up your arm or be real aggressive. Like, like our hissing cockroach will sit there, and then we'll have something slow like the African giant millipede. Some of these other, trying to think what else we use. Our vinegroon. We have a couple scorpions, and scorpions are always a big one. People are like, oh my God, scorpion. And then you bring out like an emperor or a flat rock, and it's something that just sits in your hand and doesn't move. And you kind of explain like, yeah, sure, it's venomous, but it's not really going to do a whole lot. And then the other thing is people tend not to like small and fast. So like when I bring up a tarantula that's just sitting there, it's like they can see it. Even if it jumped off my hand and ran, they can see it. Like the biggest thing I think, like when I talk to some people that are like, oh, I don't like spiders, or even at my my normal 9 to 5, it's just the small fast ones. Like it ran across my bedroom floor and then it just disappeared. Like I mean,
we see that with baby corn snakes at shows.
Yeah.
People are kind of intimidated just because they're small, and they move fast.
One of our berms or something like that, and it's chill. It's kind of like just a big snake where it almost kind of is like surreal how big it is.
Right.
And then you bring out some little fast paced like a baby corn snake or something.
Yeah. So what do you guys, as far as, because we have people handle, typically we bring one animal to a show and we allow them to get an interaction with an adult corn snake, because we feel like that's a it's a good opportunity to, one, get people past their fears, and two, to see that corn snakes are handleable and super awesome for pets. So that's what we do. But every time, we'll get one or two kids that just like freak out.
Well, I mean, a kid dropped one.
Yeah, we've had 2 instances where pretty close to the snake being dropped. So it's like, how do you guys take the steps to make sure that everyone's good to go?
When we were, one, like, it's knowing the species you're bringing out, sure. Knowing that, some of the normal documented behaviors, working with it at home, handling it there. But like one thing too is when I was telling you, I have a kid put their hand in my hand. I'll usually make a joke like, hey, I'm going to hold your hand so that you don't get nervous and throw it on your kid behind you. And I just kind of hold their hand a little bit, or their wrist, and not like Kung Fu grip or anything. It's just making sure that he's not pulling away, or that, the roach takes 2 steps and they toss it. And then once they seem comfortable, and two, sometimes they'll explain like, hey, I'm going to tickle this roach and he's going to walk on your hand, his feet tickle, kind of like preparing him for what's going to happen. I'm trying to think here. I've never had any spiders drop. I've never had any bugs dropped in general. So just because I take that whole, like, I trust my animals, but I don't trust kids. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
And when, I kind of build up a little bit of trust working with that kid for a couple minutes. And a lot of times you can tell, like, right off the get, like, if that kid's like, you can feel it when you hold their hand, like they feel tense.
Right.
But there's some kids like, just like, oh, cool, I have this giant bug, or, I'm holding this snake or something. We always try to do our best to stay in control of everything, even though like we might look relaxed during a presentation or while we're talking. We're like, we know what's going on. We can I'm always like constantly looking at who's ever got the animal while I'm talking, or just trying to be aware of everything that's going on right there.
Sure. And then even too, there's a lot of muscle memory there too, because like, again, Mike was saying, you'll feel someone tense up a little bit. You'll kind of feel, again, having your hand underneath their hand, you can definitely feel that pressure that they give off, a little bit of that, a little bit of like that tensing. But also too, I'm a big, I'm big when it comes to letting someone hold that or pets that animal first, because a lot of times they're looking at like, yeah, I'll hold it. And then you'll see them and they're kind of like, you see a little bit of resistance, a little caution. You're like, all right, do you want to at least pet it first? And then like, yeah, I'll pet it. So it's just getting over that first step of like, petting it for a second, getting used to it. And they'll be like, okay, that's not as scary as I thought. It kind of relieves a little bit of that tension that they were feeling prior. And then giving that person, that animal to hold, or that's like kind of their way of like backing out of it. Like, you know what, I'm okay with just petting it. I don't have to hold it.
Right.
Which is perfect, because at least they did something with it. And to them, it's justified in their minds. Like, hey, I at least pet this animal. I don't have to hold it. I'm okay with just petting it. So a lot of times, we go straight to, hey, do you want to hold it, when people are just content petting the animals too. But again, a lot of it is, if you're feeling tense and stuff, I give that person half the animal and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to hold this half the animal. If you want to hold the tail end, go for it. Some people, it's a lot easier with the snake than a tarantula. Yeah. Well, again, but yeah, we're just saying that with more of the snake stuff. A lot of the lizards, it depends. I mean, we really don't give people lizards to hold, because a lot of ours are super big. So like, you guys held the Euromastic, right? Or at least saw the Euromastic. So I mean, that thing is basically like a paperweight, man. Really that thing, I swear it didn't move. It really is. But like, so we will give that animal to people, because really it's just like a toy. She just sits there and she's awesome. But with like snakes and stuff like that, it's, again, you don't want that thing to drop. You don't want to, you don't want to hurt any of your animals, regardless. But again, knowing, and again, the more and more you guys will do this, the more you guys will feel that muscle memory of like, reading people's body language, feeling them kind of tense up a little bit, or just the way that they're ready to receive that animal, will kind of become more intuitive to you guys as you go along. Also, like too, when we're watching people hold stuff, like I'll have to like, a kid's holding a roach, and if they go to try to pet it, I'm like usually on that, like, hey, don't pet it on its back, because like that roach is thinking like your finger's a bird beak. Sure. It's not like a lizard where you're like petting it. Same thing with spiders. Like, you see videos of people like, petting their abdomen or something. But typically, even if my spider will handle it, I have people like just hold it, don't pet it, because like, you don't want it to just run forward on them or something, because that'll freak them out too. Because our whole goal is like we talked about like in the beginning, like it's not fear factor. We're not trying to scare you guys.
there's something you don't want to hold, that's cool. But our goal is to get you guys to hold everything, you know.
Sorry, we were muted for Melissa's coughing.
Oh, no worries.
And then, but
this whole time, I'm trying to think in my head, am I ever going to be able to hold a roach? Ever. Like, we talk to all these people, and they say all the good things, and we talk about kids holding them. And my mic is off. But
could you hear her during that?
Those,
yeah,
like,
leeches.
They have no legs.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a snake because it's got no legs.
What? A roach?
Leeches.
Oh, no, I was saying roaches.
No, I heard you say that. I was like, maybe we'll start with a leech, and then we'll work up to like something with legs.
Well, think about it. I mean, little like isopods are kind of like little roaches, I guess. I mean,
did you hear my distaste for the isopods in my house currently?
You don't have to eat them, so you don't have to take them.
I don't want them anywhere near me.
Let me keep any bugs inside. Pretty much, I wasn't allowed to keep stuff inside until we had to go stay in the motel, and I think my parents were like, "Well, we'll try to keep some normalcy in your life." A snake inside. I remember like we're in this like motel, and I had like my garter snake that I caught, and it was gonna rain. I'm like, "Mom, I gotta bring it inside, or my tank's gonna flood." And then after that, it was all downhill with getting everything inside. So
with isopods, though, I mean, it's like a statistic that like you cannot keep 100% of those isopods within their enclosures because of how small they are, and they will go towards like moist areas and things. So I mean, like people swallow what, a handful of isopods.
Hey, dude, you're not helping my case here. They're all over the house.
And he's like, well, like there's one time we're at a show, for an example, serious conversation about how we do stuff, and we have a piebald ball python, and Colin's like, yeah, we just got this animal on a rescue. Someone spilled bleach on it. And these people are like, oh my God. And then I started laughing. They're like, what's up? And he's like, no, it was just supposed to be this color. Like,
because people ask all the time, like, oh, is it like any animals that we bring? And I guess, I don't know if there's that many out there, but they're like, oh, is this a rescue? And I'm like, why does everything have to be a rescue? Like, what? Why can't I just buy an animal? Like in Illinois, it's like, they're like, they've outlawed like backyard breeders and stuff, but for dogs. Or have made it really difficult for people like actually breed dogs. And they're like, oh, you got to adopt. And I'm like, if I want some crazy, Malaysian mountain dog or something, and I want to buy from a breeder, I want to buy it from a breeder. I don't want to have to go to the pound and grab some random dog. I mean, again, not that those dogs don't need homes, but like same thing with corn snakes or king snakes, or whatever. It's like, I just don't want a dog. I have, an affinity for a specific breed or whatever. And I'd like to have that. So I don't know.
I don't know if people.
I know, but still, that bugged me. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know if people realize the difference between someone, a puppy mill and someone breeding an animal for the best potential, as far as like whether it has a job to do, whether it's a hunting dog or something like that. I mean, yeah, there's people trying to further their animals rather than.
Right, exactly. And people do it right, but I don't know.
Can we go back to leeches?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, should we tell you about the leech videos with Titsy?
No. I've had them hold on to me, but I've never held a leech. And who is Titsy?
like when we were researching,
she is from Romania.
When we were researching,
she a stripper?
No. Well, let's talk about like how we get started.
Yes.
I'm different bugs like to add to our show and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Who's got medical leeches? That would be kind of cool.
But this is also one of those animals that Mike goes, hey, I want this. And I go, no, probably not a good idea. Probably one of the dumbest things you've ever told me in my life. Let's just,
But we find this lady online that she runs leeches.com. And then we're like, we're seeing leech videos, and then they lead into like her enema videos.
Leech enemas.
And then like we watch one where like she puts a leech on her tongue. And I'm like,
bro, she put leeches up her butt. Can we talk about that?
Leech colonoscopies, leech enemas. Yes.
It wasn't a leech enema. It was a coffee enema.
Whatever.
But it was still pretty bad.
Oh, I've seen coffee enemas. I've seen coffee enemas.
How close up?
I've brought it up to you multiple times.
How close up?
What was the one where she was in the stirrups and she put them?
No, she was like, I feel weird even talking about this.
It was weird.
So some people use medical leeches for like, they'll do like a vaginal treatment. I don't get it, but she had a Minnie Mouse doll, an avocado, and like this utensil.
Yes, that opened up Minnie Mouse.
We were like, whoa, this is way weirder than we thought.
Yeah, too much stuff.
I ended up ordering the leeches, and my first set, I get them, and like I ordered like the biggest ones I could find, and I'm like, all right, they come in, they're super tiny, and I'm like, what the heck? So I emailed this lady, what the heck? I ordered the big leeches, I got tiny leeches, and so what I did is I put them all on my arm because I was going to feed them, and I put all 5 on.
You didn't go straight for the butthole or no?
No. I did a regular. I was like, I'm going to put it on my arm first so I can see them.
Prude.
I know, right? And then I put them all on my arm, and she emails me back saying, hey, after they feed, they're going to grow, which I knew they would get bigger, but they got like 5 times bigger.
He texts me, or he Snapchats me. He goes, hey, just hanging out with my leeches. And like, he's got these things hanging off of his arm. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh.
I'm like, feeding my babies.
And then they start to get more intense, where he's like, oh, look at this. And they start off as like they almost look like little moles. That's how small they are. And then they start growing inch by inch. And by the time they're almost full grown, what, like 3-4 inches a piece?
I mean, they're some of like the leeches we have right now are like this big, which I want to say they're probably like 3.5 inches long.
So then Mike sends me a Snapchat with bloody towels. And I go, and I'm like, Mike, what's up?
So hold on. After I email this lady, she emails me back, they're going to grow. But when you feed them, only feed 1 or 2 at a time, because you can bleed for up to like 5 to 10 hours after it. They have an anticoagulant in their saliva. I knew some of this. I just didn't know the extent of it. So like,
wait, slow down.
I'm not blood,
we're going too fast. I'm so confused. Do you actually feed your own blood to these things?
I used to. Some people do. I used to when I first got them, but like, and I'll get into what I give them now. But like this whole thing,
like vampire fetish. I'm like so confused.
I had to call up scars from that, dude.
No, they went away. They look like heroin scars because they were just like dots.
Oh,
but like I called a friend that was a nurse. I was like, listen, Amy, I messed up, and she like doctored me up. But now I feed them cow's blood. So, and we use them sometimes, like in our like the different places.
But he's trying to like, didn't you try to super glue it shut or something?
I did. I tried to super glue it.
Because it was bleeding so much. Like he's downplaying how she was bleeding. He got so scared that he called up a medical professional and said, listen, I messed up. I'm going to bleed out here. And I just put 5 buffalo leeches that were on some lady's vagina.
No.
That was my previous question. Are these proven clean and free, not previously used?
They were unfed leeches. I think they went like...
She called them Tootsies Bitsies.
So they went in her bitsies.
They were smaller when I got them. I think they were... Like a lot of times leeches only have to feed them like every couple months if they're kept cool enough.
And it's weird when you feed some of the cow's blood. It's gross.
And so like when I got them, they were like hungry leeches, so to speak. They weren't.
But that doesn't mean they haven't been in her bitsies.
No, that's true.
That is but I have a feeling we're gonna get like an email from this lady like, what are you talking about me?
We're gonna get an email from some parent being like, my child listened to this.
She's like really, and she's like, I love leeches.
If you go on her YouTube pages and stuff, like just look leeches.com. It was like
that domain. That's actually really impressive.
But is she on Pornhub? Like I'm just confused.
No.
I don't think there's anything. There's just very suggestive, weird.
And it's funny, like
stuff.
She's got like a muckburging when you're eating and talking.
Mukbang?
Yeah, she does that.
Wait, Colin, what was that accent there?
No, it's a mukbang, huh?
But it was one of those like facets I like got into and was like, wow, this is a weird, like I feel like I went down the rabbit hole with this. And then I'm in a leech group on Facebook and they like really aren't a big fan of leeches.com, but it's kind of weird that there's a whole group for a leech hobby. So I've got, I think it's like 4 or 5 medical leeches.
We've only used them literally like 3 or 4 times.
And it's usually at like more like we were at the Oak Park Conservatory. We did a STEM fest and I keep them in a little like 2.5 gallon with water. Sometimes people are like, what are those? Sometimes people come up and they're like, they know what they are, but
we impress the people that hire us with that type of stuff. Like we're at the Garfield Park Conservatory and we had all these different like classifications and groups and things. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah. They're much prettier than I thought they would be. But honestly, those are really good photos. When you see them up close, they're not that cool.
I think they're that cool, but that's where I got mine from.
Leeches worldwide.
And
so many questions.
I buy edible cow's blood. You can get it at like your butcher. and I put it in little.
Wait, Mike. When you say so many crazy things in 10 minutes, you have to take long pauses for me to freak out.
That's fine.
So instead of feeding the leeches me, what I do is I buy cow's blood.
But what is non-edible cow's blood? What does that mean? The edible part.
Like fresh from the cow. But I guess people like there's other, what's it? I think in the Philippines they make like blood soup or something like that. But I just portion it off in little 2-ounce cups, and then I basically put the little cup in a container, and the leeches go inside the little cup, and then they just come out.
When it gets bad though, it's putrid.
Well, I don't want to get
bad. Your story? Not about leeches, or do we want to do a hard left turn from leeches?
I don't know where you're going.
Do you guys want to hear this?
I'm so conflicted.
Does it have anything to do with Bitsy?
Well, I think we moved on past Bitsy.
Yeah, Bitsy. I think we're past. And honestly,
Bitsy.
I'm kind of scared that she'll haunt me in my dreams after even mentioning.
You watch one of those animal videos.
If you watch them, she's like, "I love the ways it feels in my anus."
She did this whole thing, like she gives herself an enema, and then she sits on the toilet, and you just hear it.
Yes,
and it was just like, I could have gone my whole life without that because I like to pretend like those don't.
You saw her shit leeches?
No, like you hear it.
You just hear, the Black Rifle coffee in the toilet.
You see her shit leeches?
No.
You want to see me put the leeches in my vagina, eh? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you watch some of her videos, you'll be like, oh.
I do believe she's from Romania, though.
I think so.
Not Kazakhstan.
It's one of those.
Your Romanian accent was pretty bad.
Yeah. I still follow her on Facebook, but
I don't.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bitsy, huh?
If I can find the one video, I'll send it to you with the avocado and the.
Honestly, if you,
What does it feel like having a leech suck your blood?
At first, it's like you can feel like a pinch when they first like attach, and then you can you feel like pressure because it's like they start out small and then they just start sucking and they go.
It's gross.
Yeah, the gross part is just the fact that anticoagulant is so good that you kind of just drip, if that makes sense. They do use like medical leeches still in some aspects. Like if you cut your finger off and they try to reattach it, they'll put a leech on the end and it can help get the blood circulation going.
I don't think that's common practice.
No, it's not super common. And then it's almost like essential oils. Essential oils don't do anything, but it makes you feel better when you use them.
Right. Essentially, you feel better.
So leeches on their head and they think it helps with baldness, or they'll do cupping. Where you put that cup and you put the leech on there. There's a million things that they use leeches for. I don't know if they actually do anything. It's like they say they do, but like I said, I always compare it to essential oils where they don't do anything. Like when your mom's like, take this lavender, it'll make you calm down. And you're like, Mom, I just smell like lavender and I'm still freaking out. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you keep those? Do you keep them in water?
Yeah, I got them in you ever see Ziploc makes it's a Rubbermaid container or a Sterilite that's got a little seal. So hold it shut. And then I've got a vent on the side. Some people keep them in glass jars where they don't need a lot of oxygen. Some people put them in their fridge to keep them cool. So you can open it once a day or just to let some air in. And as long as they're kept cool, they usually do okay. Buffalo more tropical, where you got to keep them warmer with a filter. I have not been very successful with those, and they're expensive, so I kind of stopped with those ones. But they're the ones that get huge.
Yeah, they sound like they would get huge, buffalo leeches. So how do you feed these things?
You just said it with the blood.
Yeah, I know, but very specifically.
He said he gets the little cup.
I buy a gallon of cow's blood at a time. Buy a gallon of cow's blood. And I buy the little, the cups you use to feed crested geckos, a little 2-ounce, and I just portion the blood out. I freeze it. So when I'm going to feed one of the leeches, I unthaw it for a day. And then I put the little cup inside of a bigger jelly cup, and I put the leeches in there. They kind of crawl around, go inside. Because I tried a bunch of different things. Like I said, I started with myself. I tried a goldfish. I tried a pinky mouse.
The pinky mouse, I was like, bro, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
I can't.
So then I after joining the leech group, I found people would sometimes either use cow's blood and they'll soak chicken livers in it, and their leeches go and kind of feed off that. I found one nature center online that puts blood inside of a sausage casing, and they hang it in the water, and the leeches come up and feed on there.
It's like a bloody condom.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, I'm ready for Colin's story. I'm so close to throwing up.
Yeah,
now.
these leeches, people.
Y'all are
If
next
people
level.
thought that like reptile
people,
people, snake people were weird,
this takes the cake by like literally so close.
The Legion of Leeches.
I feel like there's a big overlap with BDSM folks.
Sure.
And these leeches.
I feel like
what do you do?
Medicine versus like medicine that works.
Sure. You know, and like leech tassels. So okay. So
I think Melissa literally went to go throw up.
Oh no.
Again, this is
I mean,
it's the first time?
She's cried before. She's never thrown up before though.
Hey, high five.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
I tried.
So I mean, yeah, I don't think it can get any weirder than that. I mean, you must not have any other.
You'd be surprised.
I'm trying. I mean, like other than leeches are weird to most people. I can't think of anything else that I've done that's been like, or kept that's really been like.
Dude, she literally just threw up.
No, really?
No.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's awesome.
Oh,
is she really?
He's probably messing with us. He's probably like, oh, she's had the flu for like a week.
No. She throws up really easily.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh no.
Like I wish I could turn up my sound or bring a mic in there, but she's literally right on the other side of that wall.
Mine's right here, so
good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we can't waste Colin's story while Melissa's occupied.
Okay. Well, does she sound like she's finishing up?
You good? She just flushed.
Oh no.
So I think she's ready to go.
I mean,
I really want to know. I want to know what was the final straw in which
probably the blood condom. I think that did it.
I don't know where it comes from, but like either one of us, just like the stuff that comes out of our mouth, or like you're just like people are like, you said that, like you said really.
Yeah, and Lynch 420 like to say maybe she's preggo and she throws up a lot, so we
must have been pregnant for like 2 years.
Well, sometimes that happens.
That is what everyone.
That's almost like maybe it's like South Park with like the fetus thing, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys watched that or not.
What was? I don't want you to relive it, but was the final straw the blood filled
sausage? And then with the sausage, the sausage. That was
just the visual of that.
Yeah,
it's not that bad of a video. Like
I'm pretty sure that's called chlamydia. If
what?
Well, right? Isn't that where you pee blood?
I've never had that. Yeah, neither have I. I got tested, but I was clean.
Yeah, that was another story too. Anyway,
oh my God, this is so R-rated.
It wasn't from a boat. Okay, so
you guys do shows for kids, right?
Yeah.
And multiple people
that the parents thought it was funny, but we get a lot of jokes that go over kids' heads. So
right, because you also honestly you also have to cater to parents, and so we'll say things that again are super clean, but like the parents will get it, and they're like, "Oh my God, that like I'm having just as much time." Because sometimes parents will kind of like stare off, like, "All right, well, you're just gonna watch my kids for an hour, and that's it." But then you'll say something, and you hear them go, "Oh, I'm totally in," and then like they're sitting there the rest of the time, like laughing. So, okay, my story. So, I used to work for animal control a long time ago, and when I did, they always called me for any like exotic stuff. So like you'll get like randomly, you'll get like someone threw away a bearded dragon, like something really sad, and they'll pick it up and they'll say, "Hey, can you hold on to it? Do the the whatever the 10-day quarantine, not whatever it is, but just in case someone wants it or whatever." And since then, they've always just Will County, the county that we live in, calls me up anytime they have anything exotic, like a reptile or anything. So on October 1st, so right as I'm going to one of the haunted houses, I drive, I get a call right before I'm leaving for work in this.
I like how Mike is pre-laughing.
He's trying to keep it together, but he
pre-laughing.
And before I head off to go home, they're like, "Hey, a landlord just called us up in Joliet, and they had a tenant leave some snakes, and they want you to go pick them up." So I'm like, "Ooh, cool!" Like, part of me gets really excited, like, oh, it could be something super exotic, you know, like a elephant trunk snake or whatever, something random. And you're like, oh, cool, that'd be awesome. And then the other half of me is like, Colin, chill out, dude. It's Joliet. It's probably a ball python.
Yep.
And
a Melkorn snake.
Sure. I mean, honestly, I'd probably be more excited for an Melkorn snake than a normal ball python. So, but so I go to Joliet, and Joliet's not known to be the greatest area in the world. And so I pull up to this like kind of rundown property. There's a bunch of furniture out on the lawn, and someone's sweeping out the door, some little old lady. And I get out, I bring a tub, and I bring a snake hook because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be encountering. I'm not sure, what type of snake. If they even, because the lady said she couldn't send me photos because she didn't have a cell phone with a camera on it. I go, holy crap.
Sounds weird in general.
Okay.
So that's weirder than leeches, So I go up there, and I immediately get this smell of just putrid disgust. Like I'm not comfortable with it. And Mike knows that I'm not that I've got a super sensitive gag reflex, but like I can tolerate some smells, but I also can't. And there's specific smells, mainly Mike's farts. But yeah. But I get up to the door, I'm like, ooh, hold on. Does gagging, because I'm gonna do a lot of gagging here real quick. Does gagging trigger you at all, Melissa?
I mean, not normally, but post
cool.
what happened.
Let me know. But because again, I'm very emotive when it comes to this type of stuff. So I go in there and I look in this house, and in the front room, there's this couch with this gross stain on there. There's like a 75-gallon that's got probably about a quarter water left in it, or a quarter level water in there. It's just gross, brownish, murky water. And then I look to the left of me, and there's this 55-gallon with 2 ball pythons in there. And the enclosure had wood, wood cut top on there. So like it wasn't mesh or anything. It was holding, pretty much all the junk in there. They had dropped in a lamp with an LED bulb in there, so it was not emitting anything other than light. One of the snakes is wrapped around that just to try and gather some heat, which is super sad.
Mm.
And then the other one is like in a cinder block. It's like wedged itself into a cinder block.
What?
Inside the cage, it looked like it had not been touched in months. It looked like there were several carcasses of dead mice and rats that were like at that point where they had mummified / were bubbling still. So me being an idiot, I opened up the wood slat and got all of that. So I was like, my diaphragm was punching my throat. I was like, and the lady's like, it's okay, baby, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. But I'm like, how long has it been like this? Like, when did you? She's like, oh, well, we found them yesterday. And I go, the snakes? Like, why didn't you take them out? And she's like, no, the tenant. And I go,
he was dead?
huh? So I go, where? She points over to the couch.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And so I'm like, I'm breathing in dead body right now. I'm like, like my body is like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm sitting there like trying to like breathe, trying to like put my face in my, but it's like the smell is so thick that I'm like, I can't even concentrate. And the one ball python wedged itself between this cinder block hole. So I'm like, oh my God, like I'm about to get a hammer and break this thing open just to grab this snake out, because I'm not about to sit there and finesse a ball out of a hole.
Wiggle it out.
Well,
yeah.
No. But I was like, oh my God. So she's like, it's okay. Just breathe out of your mouth. I'm like, no, I can taste it. So I ended up grabbing it out there, and I kept on getting phantom smells. I washed the pythons after that. The smell would not get out of the snakes until they shut out. Which was nuts. But what I found out was the tenant did die. He must have died after he had delivered his check in September. So he had been sitting there for a whole month on the couch. I come to find out too that there was a cat that had also died in the house over that month, which is sad. Even though they don't have souls, it's still sad. And then that 75-gallon with the fish, I guess, was like this really elaborate tank that all of the fish died. The snakes were the only thing that survived. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was putrid. It was the most disgusting smell I think I've ever inhaled. Besides Mike, but
about this whole like we were supposed to talk about like our educational bug shows, and we brought up like
this is the grossest podcast we've ever done by far.
Well,
I mean, it's one of those. I swear, we're professional.
We really are professionals.
It's fun, and I mean, obviously, we're doing well because I mean, we're doing it. Just trying to have fun with it and everything. But yeah, some weird things happen here and there.
Yes, definitely.
Sometimes the weirdest thing is like the people. Like when we first started doing shows, I remember we were at like this. What was it, Mantino? Like, and it was this little like middle of nowhere town kind of thing. I mean, not super. Boondocks, but this lady comes up and she's probably some meth head or whatever, but we're sitting there holding this
making some hard assumptions
coming up, and this lady just starts petting the snake and looks at Colin like, we like to use animals in the Native American way, and we're like, what is that?
What is the Native American
way? She just walked away after that. We were like, what?
But then she like circles back and was just like, we utilize everything on the animal. And I was like, and she just kept on going on, and we're like, okay, like this, we have to sit here and listen to you, and you're taking advantage of that. So or also like Mike and I went to a Reptiles. Which one?
Are you going to bring the disco party?
The disco party was fun. We got invited to a disco party, but I wasn't talking about that. I wasn't talking. We got invited to a disco party.
We didn't know it was for adults. We get there like, hey, we want to book a show. We show up. It's all people in their late 20s dressed up as disco.
It was really cool,
and they just wanted a reptile show, which was kind of weird.
And I think there was there's like a really good photo of someone holding an animal, and someone was like was smoking pot in the background. And we're like, oh no, like, we can't use that. So it's a really good photo. And then like someone's like smoking in the back. I was like, oh man. But no, we went to a reptile swap in this area that shall not be named, but there's some weird people that been there. And this guy had this acrylic Beanie Baby display. And it's a bi-monthly show that should not be named. It's named after someone, but
meaning that
sure. And but it's at a fairgrounds. But anyways, so this guy has a Beanie Baby display, and he's got these but he's made his own Beanie Babies type things, and he's got gray bands, like a couple different milks and things like that. And I like to talk to people, and he I don't even know. I said is that one of them for sale or something? I was looking at the gray band. I'm like, oh, it's a pre-gray band. Like, are you selling that? And he goes, no, I actually play with these animals, and I sometimes
he set up his toys, and he let the snakes go in through the display.
And he's like, yeah, look at this. This one can go to Mordo through here and to Exanthia, and then and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, where's Terabithia? Because I feel like that should be on the. But then he goes, yeah, sometimes I'll rub mice on the Beanie Babies' faces, and I'll get them to try to eat the Beanie Babies, and I'm like, but why? And he's just like, I don't know. I just do it, and it was like
meet some weird people,
right? I'm like, this is just weird, dude. Like, why?
He needs to meet Bitsy.
Yeah. No, Bitsy probably couldn't handle him.
I haven't seen there in a while. He was a weirdo. He was a straight
yeah, they're probably like, hey man, you're creeping people out. Or there's this. Oh, I don't know if we can talk about him. This one I'm legitimately scared about. But you'll get some weird people. I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
He's like,
does he have
so okay,
some mafia ties or something?
No.
Who are you trying to bring up? Our old employer?
No.
Now Mike's just gonna guess things that are worse than what you were gonna say.
The professor.
Yeah.
Oh no, we gotta bring that dude up.
But what if he listens to this?
Yeah, true. What if he we just had
So
no one listens to this.
I mean, enough people.
You know what? Forget it. He's straight weirdo, and you know what? I'm okay with it. He comes to one of our shows because he's
no, dude, you're going too hard. You're going too hard. It's hurting me.
Okay, start back. This dude's messaging Colin, right? When's your show? What are you bringing to the show?
But
I have 10 friends from out of city coming to the show.
No, that's too specific.
Okay.
But have you ever seen Stuart from Ed TV?
Yes.
Where he's like, hey, so I want to hold your snake.
I think you're just dragging this on, and I just want to explain how.
But
weird
basically,
this dude is.
So the weird part about it is that this individual, because we can't say it's a he. We already said it's a he. But I'm going to say
this animal.
This individual will show up to our shows and just be like, who will text us, message us, and just be like, yeah, I want to hold your snake. I want to get.
Are you going to bring? Definitely watching right now.
Yeah, he's a super fan and he's watching.
But then he will show up and not say a word to us. Yeah. The entire program will go up to him like,
and it's not like a cute shy. It's like he's the dude with the bag and not another teen movie kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
But then he'll show up and be like, we're like, hey, do you want to touch? He's like, yeah.
Oh, it gets weirder. It gets weirder. He comes up. He's with some like couple girls, right?
And I refuse to talk to him. I go,
he comes up with because he's like, I got to get out of here, and he leaves me with this weirdo. Comes up with these girls. They're like, oh yeah, they want to hold the snake. They're volunteers for this.
But you got to say it like, you want to hold the snake?
No, I'm not as creepy as that. But we let him take a picture, and I put everything away, and we go up to these girls at the end, like, hey, how do you know that guy? They're like, we just know he works at Walmart, and he came up and asked if we would take pictures with him. That's the first time. Okay, so he just grabbed these little, like, not little girls, they're like teenagers, but he's like, hi, I'm Steve from Blue's Clues, and gets these girls coming up, and they take pictures. Then he comes up to another one of our shows, and it's just me. Like, I'm vulnerable there. I'm by myself with animals. And he's like, hey, he comes up with these girls that are working with the paper, and he's like, yeah, they want to take a picture. And this girl's smart. She's like, no, I don't got time. It's cool. I'll take your picture. And then she like ran off. But like I told him, I was like, dude, like it happened again. Like he was there, and he shows up in his Walmart uniform and everything. And it's like, it just.
Why would you say that? Now he knows.
I don't really care. Like,
it's pretty obvious.
He makes me feel real uncomfortable.
He makes everyone uncomfortable, and he follows us around, and we don't know what to do about it.
And he's like, yeah, you're my snake guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is probably the end of that.
Yeah. Like, I'm outside right now. Yeah. But it's in all seriousness, no, it was weird. Like, because the first time we're like talking to these girls, we're like, hey, how do you know that dude? And they're like, oh, he just came and wanted a picture of us with the snake.
That was weird. That left me.
And that was odd. And then
that's very odd.
He tried getting these older girls. I mean, they were probably like early 20s, and they're like, no, it's cool. We got to go. Like, yeah, that was a weird one. Oh, like I said, the people that just kind of follow you and meet up with you are, yeah. Like, there's like your reptile people weird, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But this guy's at like next level. Like,
the ones that you're just like, no.
Yeah, just say, I don't know how this happened.
Info, so you guys can be like, whoa, look at this guy.
Yeah.
So animals.
Yes.
Oh shoot, I had an animal question.
Well, I was curious when you guys started Crosstown, as far as you two, did one of you guys start it first and then the other joined, or did you start at the same time?
So I was like, we need to do this.
Yeah, he approached me about it. Like,
and he was when Mike is not a great multitasker. If he's doing one thing, it's gotta be, I'm doing this one thing. I can't divert from anything else. And so he was finishing school, and I give him credit for being resistant and saying, hey, no, I'm not going to, I don't want to do this. I go, Mike, you're in it. I don't care if you.
It wasn't that I didn't want to do it. We worked for another guy doing shows, and he, like, when we were younger, this guy was so cool, and then it turned out it wasn't what we thought it was. And,
not like that, though.
Yeah, no, we didn't get touched.
Yeah.
But, like.
I remember when Colin explained it the first time. Yeah.
That, I had just quit working for that guy, and I kind of, like, I wanted to, like, maybe breed this or do stuff, and Colin's like, after we did the Statesville stuff, he's like, dude, like, John was talking to me. He was like, we should try to do this niche thing, and he was putting some stuff together. And we sat down, and we kind of got, like, this little baseline across town. But at first, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do shows. Like, let's just kind of market the stuff we breed or whatever. And then it was probably, that was what, 2012, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then 2014, I think, is when it kicked off. Like, we had kind of like a.
We probably had like 12 shows that year. We're like, whoa.
Yeah, we made $1,000 the whole year. It's cool. You know, and spent half of it on animals.
Yeah. And then this last year, we're going to round out around 350. So, I mean, it's been
350 shows. Yeah.
Yeah, 350 shows. So.
I thought you made $350.
I hope you're not grinding out.
Oh, I know. Yeah. No. Yeah. So
you guys got to hustle harder, man.
I know, right? But, we still have day jobs, and yeah.
Dude, that's absolutely nuts. 350 shows while you guys both have day jobs.
Yes.
And it helps, too, that there's two of us. Like, we can both, kind of take time. Like, if he's got something going on, like, hey, I've got, my brothers this or that, or my family this. It's like we can kind of like, hey, I'll take the shows this day, you go do your family thing, or I go hang out with my family, or if we have something come up, which helps. And we have a couple kids that we're not kids, some of them are adults, but people that help us out. Like we have one kid that's in high school. This summer we'll have him. We've spent a lot of time kind of like
Kyle Sterling. He'll be mad if we don't shout.
Yeah, if we don't shout out his name.
Follow him at K Sterling, 18 or 36.
But he helps us out in the summertime. We'll send him to summer camps.
Local stuff though. I mean,
for a high school kid, I'd say he's got a good head on his shoulders. And we genuinely trust him. And then we have a couple other people that here
Kevin
and there.
Toberman.
Yeah, we met him through the Herp Society. Colin's girlfriend will do shows for us sometimes because we get too busy.
Yeah, and I know too, Melissa, you brought this up at the show. Like, does she show up to stuff like this? And she like generally does, but there's a lot of stuff where she's just like, hey, do you just want to like? I mean, she'll kind of just assume like, hey, you're just gonna go do reptile stuff, and just kind of let me do my thing because I'm a million miles a minute at those shows. So she's just like, I feel like I'll just get in the way or something. So it's not like she doesn't want to be there, but I think she's kind of learned like, hey, like there are some things I go to, but if you're going to be trying to network or buy animals or whatever, or, do what you're going to do, then, I'll just kind of let you do your stuff. But she's super helpful. I mean, like if I'm coming home from a day of shows, like she'll come over just to help me unpack all this stuff, or, she's really good at like taking animals out to hold them. And really anytime she can help, she will certainly help. So, I mean, it's not like she's not hands-on at all, but she tends to kind of know what she's needed for and what she, she'll get in the way for stuff. So, but I'm also really bad for asking for help too.
Why?
If Mike will tell you, I'm like a big control freak when it comes to like all of the,
and I mean,
like
some of
the
it
inner workings of all this stuff. So
Colin does all like most of the booking, and when our business cards all have Colin's number on there. But we did kind of earlier on, he's a project manager, so he's got a little more downtime of just kind of managing people and stuff. And I'm actually have to like walk around and do stuff, so he can't
be on the phone while you're exterminating.
Exactly, it's kind of the biggest thing. He's able to
just like, and again, returning emails, like everything goes through me first. So then it's if a date, everything goes through Mike, but it first comes to me, and then we discuss, all right, do we have time for this? Can we fit this?
The other thing is, like, I'm not very good. Like, I'm one of those people that'll send a message and I'll sound like a jerk, and Colin will send the message and it's like beautifully written.
He'll type something out and it'll be like, oh my God. Like
someone will be like, hey, do you guys do shows? And I'll be like, yes, here's the show, here's how long it is, and here's the price. And then Colin gets this like great elaborate thing, and I just
and I'm like, address the person like,
sometimes
hey,
a little
Becky,
awkward, like I mean, not sometimes all the time. But
she's like, yes, this is where we'll be. Go away.
And I'm like, yeah, that's why I let him handle it, because like more like I'll message someone like I talk and it doesn't come off right. If that makes sense. Like when I'm having a conversation, I sound like a nice person, but if we were messaging, like I probably wouldn't sound the same. You'd be like, wow, he doesn't want to talk to me. Like, and yeah,
that's why he's not good on Tinder or Bumble or
exactly.
Grindr.
Yeah, not Grindr, but
well, you
to know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just have a different subject. 2 questions. First one, do you guys see each other every day?
At least a couple times a week. I mean, we
call each other every day
just to discuss like stuff like, hey, this person's booking a show. Can we do this? Or, here's the latest scoop on that. But I think my house is like 15 minutes from here. So we luck out we live close. I mean, we went to the same high school. That's where we met. And then, kind of, we're like those people that just didn't want to move far away type thing. So it worked out.
It makes sense. I was just thinking, I'm sure there's like a new booking every day or new something that you want to like talk about. And so I feel like it.
Or like if there's like an atypical show, like someone's like, hey, I'm looking like, what was it? Not too long ago, someone was like, hey, my kid wants like a carnivorous plant and bug show.
Yeah.
And I just lucked out where I had like some
another thing where Mike's like, dude, we should totally do a plant show. And I'm like, Mike, I love plants. Like I'm probably more of a green thumb than he is. Yes. And I'm just like, Mike, that's the dumbest idea
it was predatory plants. Like I was like, hey, like
stuff.
I can never think of anything more boring.
I was gonna incorporate like a Venus flytrap and like maybe a pitcher plant into like my bug show. Like, hey, this is just a random cool thing. And some of the bug show that we do is like I talk for a little bit and then I have a display where I have the kids come up. Because like bugs aren't that huge, so it's like I get that some of these kids are gonna get a little antsy in the back, or there's that kid that just can't sit still. So then they can come up and look at things. And I thought it'd be cool to have some of these plants. And I was talking to him about it, and he's like, "This is lame." And then all of a sudden someone calls and says, hey, can my kid get my kid wants a plant show or something. And he was like,
bugs. And I'm like, well, for a bug? She's like, yeah, it's like a plant and bug party. I go, yeah. I'm like, Mike, I'm going to eat my words. You were right. And yeah, I mean, he had a great idea. And so he bought some carnivorous plants and had some laying around and did the show. And they're like, this is awesome. And I was like, all right, at least we're accommodating for people's wants. And I mean, again, we'll probably never, no, I won't say it, but we will probably only receive maybe one more of those phone calls because I won't say never anymore. I learned that from Justin Bieber. But
or sometimes too, it's like he might be like, hey, I don't know if this is gonna, like the last Tinley show, him and I were talking about doing the setup. I'm like, hey, it's a reptile show. So if we're going to display something, I want to have something that's weird. And he's like, well, let's do this. And I'm like, everyone has snakes. Everyone has lizards. And that's why I brought those giant toads and our cool tortoises and some of the bugs. And then like, I forgot what I sent him later on. Some person in a random Tinley group was like, I don't know what these creatures are, but they were the coolest thing I saw today. And it was my smooth-sided toad. And I was like, hey, look at this post, you know?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, Mike, you do what you're going to do. I know it'll work out.
Yeah, and then the cactus. I brought that up like 8 times, but it was like a thing. He was like, bro, why are you going to sell these cactus?
He kept it for years. Dude, I think I can make money on this. And I'm like,
I don't think I made a profit. It's just the fact I sold it all.
I'm pretty sure.
I probably did. I didn't keep track of it. I'm really bad at like Tinley's not like, oh, hey, I need to make X amount of dollars to justify it. It's just like, what kind of random stuff can I throw on this table while promoting Crosstown? Like, and it works. Like I remember
the road has a lot of awareness. So it brought you a lot of awareness, whether it's through YouTube videos.
In March, I'm like, I'm gonna bring groceries. Like I'm gonna show up with like bikini and like cactus. And I'm like, I think
at a certain point though, you need some type of like distributor's license. Like you can't just be selling. This isn't like a market or something where you can.
I think though, like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to go to the grocery store, and he's got this here, you know.
That's true.
But like we're not really
there. The red guy.
That's true. And you know what though? I was walking in on the first day. Some guy was frantically running around, and he goes up to like Potter or somebody. Because I was by the reptile house table, and he goes, "Hey, I can't find." And they're like, "What do you say?" The bread guy. I need bread. And I'm like, "You're at a reptile show, dude.
Yeah.
Like, really?" And Mike, like, I'll see Mike come up with like exotic jerkies. I'm like, dude, you're at a reptile show and you're gonna get some like, lace monitor jerky or like, I don't know.
You guys know I'm talking the guy in the back, like that's always got like the buffalo jerky or alligator jerky.
I'm like, come on, dude, like you're at a reptile show.
It's like dude, it's exotic $20.
It's exotic meats. I'm like, oh, that's exotic meats.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's something to where they probably made more money than we did at the show.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. I mean, they're selling to their crowd, which is people that want exotic meats and cactus and raisin bread that you can, again, go to the store and buy the same stuff.
I had one where I bought I forgot the guy's like, we're end of show special, and he sold me like a whole box for $20. I had bread for like months.
He's like, you want some bread? No.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want an ivory Burmese python. Can you get me one of those, please? End of show special.
Speaking of getting new animals, like when you do purchase a new animal, do you guys like sit down and talk or like discuss how are you going to present this at shows, or like do you write up a little script, or how does it really go when you get
so I wish we were as cool and as formal as you're making this out to seem, but it's mainly just almost like a podcast. We're like, oh my god, it'd be so cool to have blank. And then like sometimes we'll talk about something so much that like we'll like get each other like so pumped on it that the next day Mike will be like, so this is coming in the mail. And I'm like, oh
yeah,
you decided to buy an Aldabra tortoise for several $1,000s. He's like, yeah, I did it. And I'm like, and he's like, it's your turn. And I'm like,
I mean, we got some bucket list animals. We did well enough. We're like, hey, we're gonna get some stuff that we've always wanted. And like the tortoise, like I live on a farm now. Like I'm on a 6.5 acre farm. So I wouldn't have bought the tortoise if I didn't have space for it.
Right.
And one of our good friends, one of our with quote unquote sponsors, Gnome Rodents, even though he doesn't like, he's more of a wholesale.
He's a silent sponsor.
And like I live with him and everything, but he was like, yeah, you buy a tortoise, we'll build a barn or something later on when it's huge, and was totally down with it. So I was like, you know what, we could use a giant tortoise. I mean, we have a big tortoise, but it wasn't an Aldabra tortoise. So
right.
Now we have that, and then he got a black dragon
that
we're going to work with. And back to your whole, like, do you write up a spiel or anything? It's a lot of times we'll research, our facts. We try to find some unique things about them, because some of these animals like
are kind of similar too.
Yeah, you have to find something unique, or it's got to be really eye catching. Like, I forgot one time we brought a Savannah monitor and like
a black throat and a tegu.
And then we were trying to think of different stuff.
Like, oh man, there's so many similar talking points. Again, you can find specifics, but when you're at a show, when you're doing a birthday party or something, and some people call them dog and pony shows and stuff, but I feel like some of the best educational shows I've done have been at birthday parties, because again, the birthday boy or girl is super into that stuff. That's why you're there. And then other times it's like, oh, this is just like kind of the entertainment. It'd be really cool to have a reptile guy come out or an animal guy. But when you're there, you're just kind of giving blanket statements on things. And we kind of break things up, like our lizards go into herbivore, carnivore, omnivore. Okay. So we try to bring like a skink, a monitor, an iguana, or different variations of herbivore, omnivore, carnivore. And so when you're giving just those general statements of like, all right, this is a monitor lizard, it's, a carnivore, this is what it eats, this is how big it gets, this is relation to Komodo dragons, blah, blah, blah. And then when you have something similar to that, you're like, oh man, what can I say about this animal that's not the exact same thing? But again, that's where, again, doing this for a long time, you will find things like that. But when you're doing stuff specifically for a party, people will just want to know the general stuff. They don't want to know that, it's also called a Bosc monitor, and they actually enjoy eating snails. And it's like, they just want to know what it eats, how big it gets.
Stories are another big thing.
Right.
Like we do have a number of rescues, which are kind of like, if it's got a unique story behind it, like, the one, our iguana Zoe, it came from a great owner and stuff. He was just going to college, and we kind of talk a little bit about, like, we get a lot of calls from parents that our kids are going off to college. Can you guys take this? Can you help us out?
Sure.
Or like the Mortis, the tortoise, like he just got too big for somebody. They bought him when he was little, and he kept growing, and then all of a sudden it was like, he's too big. So now we got him. Trying to think of who else we got that was or two, just like, our relation to it. Like when I pull out my alligator snapper, I'm like, this is Rocco, and he's like my baby. Like, I've had him since he was a little guy. He's 20 pounds now. Kind of talk about how, like, out of everything, like, Rocco's my favorite. He's my shell baby. Yeah. That sort of thing, because like sometimes people can relate, like, oh, I love my dog, he loves his turtle, So
I feel like that's something that really connects and that we've lacked in the way of presenting it in YouTube. I never thought of myself as an educator. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't.
Well, definitely. I wouldn't say
I got a permit for it, because some of the permits are my name, some are Colin's name for some of our animals. I got a permit for a gopher tortoise, and I totally listened to that podcast with that girl from Florida that you guys had on right when I got it, and I thought that was a very helpful, like, gave me a bunch of cool facts and a more like appreciation for this, just like this little brown tortoise that I got that you might not like think is anything crazy, but it's super important.
Right.
And I totally learned a lot of that stuff from your show.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So that was Amanda Hips, if you guys want to go listen to that, all about gopher tortoises and dogs eat their shit.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's like, I never thought of how impactful it is to actually name your animals. Cause like, we don't, having a larger collection, we don't name our animals for us. But I'm realizing the fact that if we incorporated that into like our YouTube and stuff like that, I think people would really connect
it gives a bigger
more.
Connection.
But I feel bad like doing it just for that reason.
I mean, we have names simply for our record keeping,
and we haven't,
but we don't
played it up enough.
We haven't.
Like, hey, this is A257.
Well, we usually just call them what they're morph it. Like, this is a reverse Okati. This, like, that, I don't know, that their name is their morph to us.
Right.
And I don't know why we haven't called them more
for some reason, but I understand, like, people say when you name something, you love it. Unfortunately, yeah.
And that's something, you're right. And that's something too, Mike and I, I think we picked up a couple bad habits growing up just with the guy that we used to work for. And we really did reevaluate once we started this again. Like, dude, I felt like we were so desensitized to the animals themselves and just like keeping animals as pets instead of, I don't know. I guess I don't want to say commodities, but I think it may have gotten to that point when we were younger. But again, both Mike and I were in our early teens and late teens when we worked with this guy. So again, we kind of you know, picked up some bad habits from there. But going forward, we're like, dude, let's like kind of like reestablish our core values for who these animals are. And I think that is a testament to the amount of animal, or the quality of animal we keep today, because the show animals that we used prior, it was like, all right, let's get some exotic stuff. Like, you know, like this guy had like giant peach throats and, you know, crocodile monitors and crazy stuff
like you couldn't like let a kid pet.
Sure, but he was like, bring it to the show because it'll be cool. So if you got scratched up, bit, whatever at the show, like to him, it was more of like
it was a bad case of toxic
for reptile shows or something. And I'm like, man, this is, you know, looking back at it, I'm like, man, I feel like an idiot. But I was like, I was a kid. I had no idea what we were doing. And so going into it, like Mike is like, I'm a safety professional for my 9 to 5, but Mike is, you know, even more anal than I am when it comes to just like the procedures and cautions that we use going into these shows. But like Mike and I are proud to say, I mean, knock on wood, we've never had someone get bit. We've never had someone get scratched, an animal die or anything. I mean, you'll hear people that have done this much longer than we have, that accidents do happen and things, but like we're so cautious when it comes to that. And I think a lot of it is just the preparation that we give our animals prior to, and the vetting of the animals. Like with bugs, they don't have much personality.
It's more like knowing the species.
It's knowing the species, knowing your limits with each individual animal. And I think that's, you know, again, made our jobs much more easy. And also too, I think it's, you know, so much more rewarding the time that you put into, again, a Gamora, the green anaconda, or, you know, Kumba, the rhino iguana, or things like that are just so docile, so puppy dog tame that like people that don't get to experience these animals on a regular basis, or just see them on Kenan's show or Barczyk's show, and you're bringing them to their living room, and they're ready to be loved on and enjoyed and interacted with, I think is probably the most rewarding and coolest aspect of what we do.
We've had it a couple times where people are like, I saw this on this guy's YouTube, or I saw this on that guy's, and like it's kind of, I guess you almost don't even realize how like YouTube gets to people like that.
Well, I mean, now you'll have people, and I forget Emily's alligator's name.
Rex.
And I remember taking out Chubbs, the alligator, one of our alligators, or alligator. We don't have multiple. But they go, "Oh, is that Rex, or is that a friend of Rex?" And I go, "Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, like, you know, awesome." And so I messaged her, like, "Hey, Emily, you know, someone in Chicago, you know, said something or referenced Rex and whatever," and she laughed at that. But it's really cool when, you know, people mention those names, and it kind of going back to your point of naming animals, having that personal connection with those creatures. Just like I think Barczyk does an amazing job on just, and again, naming these creatures, allowing people to name some of them too, and they do have some very impactful names and some very memorable names. Like our African giant bullfrog, his name is Jellybean. I mean, people laugh really hard just because of how he's a 2-pound African giant bullfrog named Jellybean. Or we've got
I laughed at Chubbs.
Chubbs is funny, yeah.
Well, is that a
Happy Gilmore?
I'm excited.
Yeah, is that a Happy Gilmore reference?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I mean, what else? So Mortis the tortoise.
We do a lot of like Marvel references, like nerdy Harry Potter stuff. Like we have Trevor the toad, you know, and it was
Joe Rogan, the hissing cockroach.
Yep,
Trevor.
Drax, or you know, Gamora and Nebula.
Trevor's a smooth-sided toad.
Yeah.
It was
Neville
Longbottom's familiar in the films.
But like in the film, like they used that species, which was, you know.
Yes, they use smooth-sided toads.
You guys are nerds.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
like the whole Harry Potter setup and display, and we brought like I brought a basilisk, but I also brought a Sheltopusik, or a European legless lizard, and that's primarily what the basilisk is based off of, because the basilisk in Harry Potter films can blink, and they also have ears too. And I think Emily from Snake Discovery actually did a whole video on this, but it was something I already knew, but it was really, you know, educational for people that
brought a tailless whip scorpion.
Right.
They used the when Mad-Eyed
Moody deadly curse, and
Mad-Eyed Moody was going over unforgivable curses in was it third film or something like that?
Yeah, Goblet of Fire,
something like that. I don't remember the actual. I'm on like the 4th book right now.
No, that's the one that Robert Pattinson died in. So
okay,
yes, that was the one.
Gotcha.
Anyways,
and we have Lord of the Rings stuff, like Legolas is our Legolas lizard,
right?
Yeah. Some Land Before Time. We got Ducky.
Yeah.
Dumbledore is our Aldabra tortoise. Let's see who we got. Groot. We have a baby alligator snapping turtle named Groot. Drax is our caiman lizard.
Little Star-Lord, the Russian tortoise.
Yep.
But yeah, just a bunch of fun names.
Pretty much.
Vito, the
Italian Tegu.
No, he looks like Don Vito because he's from Vivo Man.
Yeah,
he got the big double chin.
I'm kidding, guys. By the way, Tegu's aren't from Italy.
I got it. His name is Vito. Is that why you said that? Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's like even we have our one snake that has a name, and his name is the Brain. And I definitely
people like him now.
I have a little bit more of a love for the Brain, but I think I had that name. I had that love.
But I like the Brain.
But you know, the first time.
Like Pinky and the Brain?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we've brought the Brain to many shows, but the White Plains show was the first time. I think we got asked at least 4 times. People are like, "Where's Pinky?" I was like, "Oh, we've never thought." We were happy with just the Brain.
It's the first time that people asked for that snake by name. Also, I didn't know that was a thing.
True, they're like, "Where's the Brain?" Yeah.
How like cool you guys are. Like you're reaching that many people. Like that they know your snake.
Right.
You know, like now you got to get a Pinky. Then you got to like get the whole Animaniacs group because I started as like a little sub thing on the Animaniacs, right?
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we're actually going to a 90s TV show trivia on Wednesday. So I got brushed up on all my Animaniacs stuff.
I love those. Those are always fun.
It made me think of like Kids WB. Like that was
right?
Yeah. There's Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Hysteria, like sorry, I out on cartoons. Like it's like 90% of what I watch. So
oh shoot, I don't know.
But it's like I realized how powerful, that is the fact of talking about that animal. And we've talked about animals over and over again, but if we don't have a name, it doesn't seem to stick. So that was just super interesting and something that like is pretty fucking obvious, but we didn't catch on to until right now.
Like when we're doing shows and I bring out like a like my one rose hair Annabelle. Like I'll say that she has a name and people are like, "Oh, she's okay now." Like,
honestly,
you get more comfortable. And then I'll be like, "Well, it's named after the doll," but then it's
right. Or someone gave us a blood python, or not a blood python. Oh my gosh, a Borneo short tail. People are gonna kill me for saying that. A black blood, but a Borneo short tail, and named John Wayne Gacy, and I'm like, I think we'll just call him Wayne. And Mike thinks we call him Gacy. So like he's at this presentation the other day going, "Yeah, well, this is Gacy." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh, you can't just say Gacy.
We teach children. It's not Gacy.
It was at a college.
We're in Chicago where like John Wayne Gacy did all this stuff. Like it's too like.
And you're in a traveling show, much like a clown would be.
Like, there are still family members that like are alive today. It's not that long ago that John Wayne Gacy killed a crap ton of people. Like
again, this makes it sound like we're totally like professional. We're dealing with people. Right. It's totally done. Like this whole podcast.
We did not name that animal. I named him Wayne, or I'll call him Dubs. I think Dubs is too. Maybe we'll name him Dubs. I don't know.
Dubs.
Yeah, but he was calling him Gacy. I'm like, don't call him that.
Yeah.
People hear you.
I thought the college students would get a kick out of it. Like, hey, some of them did. Because I was like, hey, this is, his previous owner named him Gacy. And then I'd be like, you have your somewhat normal reptile people. Right. And then you have your out there reptile
Well, there was like Dahmer. And there were like all of them were serial killer names. I'm like, I'm just going to name this blue-tongued skink. Whatever. I don't know. Something.
We do get
not
like that.
Not Jeffrey Dahmer, the blue-tongued skink.
Yeah. If you name your animals after serial killers, I'm concerned. I'm concerned.
Although you guys are knee deep in all the horror stuff, it seems like you guys are really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Before you pivot there, I have one more last question for this.
You didn't like my transition though?
It was a perfect. That was perfect pivot. Perfect pivot.
Yeah,
golf clap.
Moment of silence for death right now.
Have you ever had a question at like an educational thing that has stumped you?
All the time.
Yeah. Sometimes kids will ask like, I mean, I guess it gets like something like ridiculous, like who's gonna win in a fight, that frog or that toad? And you're like,
or those, or oh man, what was the one the other day? Oh, they said, is this tortoise native to Australia? And I go, are there tortoises in Australia?
Yeah,
and I didn't look it up, but like I'm like I need to go look that up, but I'm like I don't know that, but I guess I'm gonna go find out here in a minute, or like after the show. But
there's specifics on countries sometimes.
Sure.
It's like we try to do really well on knowing our geography. But sometimes you're like, oh, wait, I don't know.
Like you're like, wait a sec. And honestly, like I'm not someone that will make anything up. And there are people that would just be like, just for the flow of the show, and make something up. And I will literally halt a show and be like, That's a good question. I have no idea, actually. And I think it's better to be transparent like that and try to just be like, hey, I really don't know that. And I think that actually adds more to your credibility on, just your knowledge base of what, what you're trying to provide.
When you can say you don't know, like people kind of respect you a little more.
And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes people ask about like cognitive abilities on animals, or like, does it love you? And I'm like, I'd like to think
that's where it gets weird. Yeah.
Not even weird, but it's like a lot of people ask,
really right now.
Or like, when you're walking around with the toad and then it pees, and then someone's like, is that an R. Kelly toad? Because it's a group of kids.
Right.
Yeah. That stumped me, and I like paused for a minute trying to hold it together.
Yeah, then the rest of the time they're screaming R. Kelly toad. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Drip, drip, drip.
But yeah, we do get
I guess, do we want to pivot now?
Yeah.
Yeah, are we taking that? I think we're taking that hard pivot.
Let's pivot. So horror things.
Yeah.
And scary things.
Yeah.
R. Kelly's pretty scary.
Only
this is true.
Don't bring it back. Babe, don't bring it back. Keep going. Pivot.
Zombie Army Productions is the company that we work with.
Yeah. Okay. Right after we just talked about peeing on people.
Okay. Right? I was trying to pivot because she was trying to keep Joe. I'm trying to keep you on track. Trying to help you. Yeah. We have a solid bro, man.
So what did you want to talk about? The horror stuff.
Horror stuff.
Just in general.
So you guys had a super.
No, you're just gonna repeat your question back to you and see what you do.
Horror stuff.
October's crazy though for you guys.
October is crazy. Yeah, this year we had 21 days so 42 days total between the two haunted houses.
Yeah.
So we had 21 days each haunted house, each haunted house. We have just a kind of a variations of snakes, bugs, rodents at one of the haunted houses. We
have like a big display basically to kind of help set the mood. Like when you're walking in, like for me, it's like a whole little like. There's just one room basically. You walk in, but it's almost like a lab setup kind of,
But it's cool. I mean, it's definitely grown from, just like a friend of a friend saying, hey, or actually not a friend of a friend, one of my good friends from high school just saying, hey, my buddy's got snakes. We can come out for a promo video to, like next week to, just being in film and production in general. Like next week we'll be on Fargo. Well, I guess we can say that. We're going to be on Fargo next week, wrangling some roaches that they need for a scene.
Fargo,
yeah. It's based out of Kansas this season, but apparently, Chicago is the basis for this next shoot. But it's just fun, just like randomly being like, oh yeah, we're gonna be on this production this day, or like this will be our first movie that we got to do, and it's fun because again, growing up, I mean, part of Mike's part of Mike and I's relationship is like based around movies in general. Like doesn't matter if it's horror movies, superhero movies, whatever. Like we're like complete movie buffs. We love cinema.
We go to movies like once a week.
Mike.
Roughly,
it has been a trio for the last. I mean, how many years have Charlene and I been?
Probably at least 3 years.
Yeah.
So Mike's, are you saying he's a qualified third wheel?
No, really, I mean that is like it's like I told Charlene, I'm like, there are some things you need to know about me that will never change. One is that I will always keep reptiles. And then 2, Mike.
I will always keep Mike.
Like Mike will be our permanent third wheel. I don't care what you say. Like I'm even wearing like Mike on my underwear right now. Like,
well, you got to show everyone to prove it.
Oh, I mean, because
people on the downloads won't see this, but
yeah, that's my face. That's Mike. Okay, he is my best friend. Like you can't. I don't think anyone else can prove that they're best friends with someone without having their face on a pair of their underpants.
My family like questioned me. They're like, "Hey, are you gay?" I'm like, "No." And like this whole story started with my uncle. I lived with during high school. Went to like a party that we were going to do a show at, and Colin showed up there. But they're like, "Hey, did Mikey come out of the closet?" And like, my uncle's like, "I don't think so." They're like, "Well, he's in all these pictures with that guy over there."
All the years that we've been together, I should say.
Yeah.
But we've never gone to the zoo together. And so in 2015, we went with the Herp Society to Brookfield Zoo together. We'd always gone separate, but we went there together with the Herp Society, got a behind the scenes tour. And I was so pumped because I was like, dude, we've never gone to the zoo together. And we brought like a little cardboard sign that said like our first zoo trip. And we were all bundled up and stuff, and like we stood right in front of like the big, Brookfield Zoo sign, and had like some like, hey, can you take a picture of us? And they're like, oh, okay, here we go. And I'm like,
and like with the one zoo we went to where we he said we were on a caterpillar, and it's like Colin's riding behind me, and I'm on the caterpillar, But and then the other thing that really kind of topped it off, it's Colin and I in a picture. I have two nieces. And they're both little mixed babies, so it looked like a gay couple that adopted two black kids. And that's I think what sealed the deal. But the other thing that made it worse is when Colin finished the show, I was at my normal job. He goes up, they're like, "Hey, how's things with you and Mike?" And he's like, "Oh, he's basically my life partner." And he was like, "I'll still love you," and I'm like, "One, you better still love me, and two, no, I just don't have a girlfriend." Okay, kind of when you tell a Tinder date you breed roaches for a hobby, they're like, "Let's just be friends."
Yeah. And but we try to get Mike a date. So I'm so encouraging, all the time. I'm always asking him so who are you talking to? He's like, well, if I talk to you, I'm going to jinx it. So I'll let you know when it's about that time. And it hasn't happened in a while. So we'll
if anyone's listening to this podcast, crosstownexotics@gmails.com,
Yeah, Gmails with an S.
Yeah. Gmails
I don't know why he put that.
Gmails.
Over in the gmails.com. But
you like roaches?
Yeah.
And Colin. Hit Mike up.
If you can tolerate me and
long walk on a beach.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. But
you can't be the jealous type.
Yeah. Film and production stuff, it's been a lot of fun. Just the fact that
I tried Bumble.
Oh, hey, Ryan. And honestly, yeah. And it's funny because he likes bugs, and it's like Bumblebee.
It is Bumblebee.
Yeah, and Transformers. So, but no, a big part of Mike and I's relationship has been cinema and movies. So it's really cool that we get to be on Exorcist the TV series, or again the Chicago Fire shows, or different things like that, where it's we grew up and some of our first experiences were looking at different animals on shows, and Mike could tell you the third season of NYPD Blue, a tarantula was on a desk, and he's like, "Oh, that's a Mexican red knee, or that's a furry laid shelter fusus, or whatever." I don't know. But those type of films, it's that was kind of pinnacle, because again, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't Animal Planet is actually fairly new. In our lives, you guys are in your 20s, but Animal Planet didn't show up until what, the mid 90s. So some of the first stuff that we got to watch was again, all things on movies, like Indiana Jones, and and seeing the snakes in the pit, and so all that kind of stuff. It's cool to be a part of that, group of people that provides animals to films, and are exposing people to seeing some of these creatures for maybe the first time in such a very unique way.
So how long have you been working for Zombie Army?
Just literally, just as long as we've had Crosstown.
Yeah, that's how Crosstown started.
Yeah, that was kind of it was almost like the inspiration I needed to get back into it, because before we were kind of burnt out and kind of had a bad taste in our mouth from the last go around that we had with the educational shows, and kind of having that spin on oh, we're going to be animal handlers. It was kind of a cooler, spin on it. And then it was almost impossible not to do birthday parties and libraries, things like that, because it's such a staple for doing what we do, and it almost kind of justifies keeping some of these creatures, because we would get if we didn't have an animal, be like, that would be something I wouldn't mind keeping again, or whatever. And that's how we got Zoe. Zoe was doing a pilot for a show called Zubiquity, and Zubiquity was this medical show where it was going to be very incorporated with animals and whatever. And Zoe's part was just to sit on someone's shoulder and just be a big iguana. That was about it. It's literally 2 seconds, walk by with the camera, zoom in on the iguana for a second, and then go back out. And so, we did that. Obviously the pilot didn't air or anything like that, which kind of stinks. And that actually happens quite often with a lot of stuff that we do. But we kept Zoe after that. Man, this was we made a very smart purchase on which animal we chose to buy, or not even buy, but to take in. And then it ended up being just such an amazing staple in our shows. Zoe's potty trained. Zoe is super, I don't want to say vocal, but super responsive to, to humans. I mean, like when he's happy, he bobs his head. When he doesn't want something, he shakes his head no. I mean, it's really cool. So I think just kind of
kids getting handled,
right, and just enjoy. I mean, there's countless photos on our Instagram of Zoe just being showered with hands and is just loving every second of it. So I think the production and the actual educational shows themselves have accented each other quite well.
But it took that kind of transition to get like a common interest in movies, in the animals, to get you back into it.
Definitely. It was just something different. And I think Mike and I are really good on keeping things like just looking for different venues in order to keep things fresh. You know what I mean? And like, just again, not trying to be uninvited, but finding kind of niche places. I think in that big thing was the haunted houses and the film and production. But like, every now and then we'll try to find, like we did the Aquatic Experience, which is now based out of New Jersey, but it was in, I think every 5 years they switch up between Chicago and New Jersey. But we said, hey, I know it's an aquatic show, but maybe that'd be a cool venue to display some reptiles. And I think that was one of our first shows where we actually hit hard, and we got so many different.
It inspired me to get a van.
Right.
That's how big of a deal.
That's how big of a deal it was. Like
we
got
brought all
so
our
many
big
shows.
guns, and then we
hooked up with Universal Rock there too, and they gave us a bunch of stuff at cost. Pretty much, they're like, hey, listen, we don't want to bring this down to Texas. Take a bunch of these displays, and that's where just going to some of these bigger shows and
networking.
Networking. Yeah. It was a really eye-opening experience. We got to go on the local television, like news broadcasts, and show off some of our animals. And I don't think you guys know who this is, but Bozo was like kind of like a huge deal.
The clown?
The clown?
Yeah, the clown.
He was like a friendly Gacy.
Everyone knows who Bozo the Clown is.
Okay, right. So Bozo the Clown studio, like that's where we filmed the news broadcast. WGN Studios, Bozo the Clown was that's where Bozo the Clown was filmed. And so there's this awesome plaque on the outside wall. And when I was a kid, I got to be on the show and throw the bucket or throw the ball in the Bozo buckets and stuff. But just again, doing some of these really odd shows can turn into being some of the coolest experiences we've ever had, and the most successful when it comes to networking and getting ourselves out there. So
you guys,
what's our Chamber of Commerce is another one that was kind of random. We ended up getting the kid Kyle that works for us. We met him at Chamber of Commerce, and then we have a girl that helps us out, and we met her at Aquatic Experience.
Yeah.
And this is like a show that was like an hour away,
and she's in the town.
She lives in the same town as us, and it was like a weird.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool, like the people you meet at some of these places. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
All right.
So you guys, I mean, as far as having day jobs, all that stuff, throughout October, you've been going to your day jobs. And then after you go to this haunted house at night, all this stuff, you're grinding super hard and working every single weekend, 350 shows with full-time jobs. I mean, do you both want this to be your full-time job at some point?
We'd like to, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those, we want to do it correctly so that we're not struggling.
We need to definitely put in, we're laying out the groundwork now.
We have we just got one pet store sponsor that he's a friend of ours, but we're trying to make things more official with like an actual, this is expected with us, and then you're going to give us this for that. But we want to be able to, take care of these animals on our own. We don't want to rely on anything to,
But in the wintertime, right now, month of October, we did 60 shows through the month of October. And right after October, it's not a big drop off, but I think
holidays.
I think November, just because of the holidays and stuff, we'll probably drop down to around like 25 shows, which again feels weird because it's like doing one show and not having a show after that. You're like, I feel like something's wrong. And like, we'll stack up shows in those busy months where you'll have 5 shows back to back to back to back to back. And you're like, man, it feels weird just going to a show and then going home. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Cause like with those shows, it's like, you'll start in the morning and you'll start warming up. And it's like, it's almost like a workout where you're like, oh, cool. Okay. You've got your spiel down, boom, boom, boom. And by the 5th show, you're like, all right, I'm going to knock this one out. And it gets, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. Like it's, and sometimes it always happens too, where it's like, you'll get those really fun families and you're like, oh man, I wish I could stay. And for me, it always happens to be like the second to last family. So I'm like, oh, I would totally hang out with this family, eat some pizza with them and keep the animals out a little bit longer. But I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. And that's, I think, what helps keep us coming back for more, because again, some of these families are just so welcoming and so like just so ready to play. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, all right, we're bringing these animals out, and they're just so willing to have a good time and interact with the animals and just absorb the experience that they're paying for. It's a lot of fun.
I guess back to the full-time thing too. It's like, we want to make sure, like you're saying, be able to afford all the animals, and then afford our mortgage and our, we just be able to afford to like live. You know what I mean? Like, we don't having an animal-based business versus having a t-shirt or a donut business. It's like, we have overhead. The animals have to be taken care of. They have to be fed. We also, like, there's health insurance, your car insurance. I'm still paying on my van. So there's all that stuff. And we want to be able, we get the whole, like, there's probably going to be a struggle, and, like, where you just have to, things are tight, but we want to have that as, like, short of a time as possible.
Right.
Either, or just get to that point where it's like, we have so many shows where, so-and-so is quitting, and then, shortly after the other person will quit. So,
and I think for a while, and it just depends. I mean, right now, Mike's job is a little bit more, he's got room to grow at his job. For me, I've kind of maxed out all the possibilities that I have at my position. So, if anything were to happen, I mean, it would probably be me, because of Mike's is much more flexible. But again, I mean, things can change and it can go back and forth, but I don't know. I would say we're probably a couple years off. If things stay the same and, I don't get another job or whatever, that might be the route that we go for. But in general, I mean, the sponsors are at first, again, we didn't want to have to rely on anybody. But again, when it does come to this slow part of the season, it is nice to have, just a little bit of help and exchange the audience that we've built up over, the last 8 years. To kind of help out someone else in order for exchange for, something, like
we're providing like marketing or whatever.
Right, exactly. So,
and I mean,
so it is nice that way. And a lot of stuff, we've got a great friendship with the fellows over at Taro, or Mike and Brett. And, again, it's really just an unwritten thing. Like, we love their product so much that we use their cages in every single display. So, even if, they say, hey, we never want to do a sponsorship, like, I would still, promote them as much as possible. And, they'll give us discounts and stuff, and they're really great. But I think too, us being in the same state as them really helps their sales, because again, we're an Illinois-based company, Chicagoland-based company. And they're out in Bloomington, which is, kind of more of a rural area. Not super rural, but rural enough to where the concentration, it'd be more beneficial for them to hit up like a Tinley or Sewerfest or things like that. So, but we're on the ground catering to the everyday crested gecko keeper, corn snake keeper, ball python keeper. So when they see stuff like that they want to have in their office, their bedroom, their living room display, whatever, I feel like that has been, a really big benefit to them. And just seeing some of the cool animals that we have on display in general is a big selling point to them. So
yeah, like, you're trying to sell this cage, and you can see all these different animals that we're putting in each one of them. And then the pet store, it's Animal Island. It's in Midlothian, which is a town by us, but before we kind of talk sponsorship stuff with them, like, we would get all our supplies there. Like, I get all my crickets there. The guy does, it's a family owned store, and they have fish, reptiles, small animal, the weird feeder stuff. Like, they sell quail chicks, and they have rodents, live blackworms, night crawlers, a couple different sizes of fish, like, it's kind of like a one-stop shop. So it's like, for us, we can, confidently say, hey, you can go here and they'll take care of you, type thing. And they're good people. That's biggest thing. When you have a store that you trust, that helps out quite a bit.
I think that's probably undervalued as far as any educator is getting people interested in reptiles. And then probably there's a certain amount of those people who are going to be, hey, how can I have a reptile as a pet? Like, my kid's really pumped up about it. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense for someone. Say, if I had you guys if I lived in Chicago, I'd be like, yeah, Colin, I'll sponsor you, because corn snakes are the best first pet.
Right.
You're dealing with first pet owner, reptile pet owners. So, hey man, I will sponsor you, this much a month, because you're going to bring me business, because people are, looking for their first pet snakes. And as long as I'm a good person, you're a good person, and then everyone benefits from all of it. So yeah, right. I mean, that would be something that, I don't know any educators in our area, but if breeders are interested in that kind of thing, I think that would be something that would be fruitful, and it would help out the community, because you guys are dispelling all the myths about everything.
Breeders haven't really tapped into the educational aspect of things because we've got something up here called Reptile Fest that the Herpetological Society puts on, and I think in years past there were a couple breeders that had come out, but when I think breeders are mainly relying a lot on their social media, but if more breeders went out and did more educational stuff, again, like having a snake out at a show, or even going to some of those local educational shows and say, hey, like, I'm not going to sell anything, but I just want to show people what's out there. Just by doing stuff like that, I've bred blue tongue skinks for forever, and I've kind of put them on idle because a lot of my animals are getting up into their like late teens. I mean, I think one of them is 23 right now. Having blue tongue skinks at shows, when I was breeding them, I literally could not keep them in stock because they're like, oh my God, I love that lizard that you had. Like, do you know where I can find them? I'm like, I'm actually like the only one around that's breeding them right now. So it was super easy to kind of as a selling point there. But I think that's a testament to just the exposure you give to people and seeing the different, colorations and morphs that you can provide people just through educational stuff. And then just seeing the amazing personalities that comes along with that species, I think is an untapped resource that breeders don't really schedule into their marketing aspect of things. So, and I think, again, just like in where we're at with Reptile Fest, there's Reptile Rampage that Lake Forest Wildlife Discovery Center holds. But those educational shows, breeders really need to tap into because I think that they could definitely see an uptick in sales just from that type of
That's exposure. The mom taking their kid to something on the weekend, like, hey, little Jenny and Susie, we're going to go here, and there's nothing for sale, so there's no
right, there's no expectation.
It's
right,
just like,
there's no expectation.
Here's my corn
you're trying to sell
and
them.
It's freaking awesome.
It's more authentic. It's more,
or like, here's my frogs, or here's whatever. Like Josh's Frogs comes to Reptile Fest, and that's really cool because like they're not selling anything, but they'd be like, hey, if you guys are interested, let us know. But here's how these dart frogs look in this tank, and it's really cool.
And they're set up in these,
it's kind of cool too when you got the same animals. Like they might be like, oh, we have some baby smooth-sided toads. You can go check out a giant one at Crosstown Stable.
Sure.
And it's all educational, like I said. So there's no pressure, which is kind of.
I think that's where we fall short as far as at the show. Right. I try to educate people, but I also am like, are they thinking I'm just making things up for a sale? And that I'm not actually telling the truth, that a corn snake is the first bit, and people think I'm just talking shit about ball pythons, but I'm just trying to be truthful about everything. Sure. And then I feel like I come off salesy because I love corn snakes.
But we also have to be somewhat salesy because we're making it.
Right. And that's really what I don't miss about being a breeder is that expectation about having to sell something and just being, again, more authentic, more just like, hey, this is why I love this animal. And I think there are ways to do it. And maybe you just have to just find your groove on how you find that happy medium. Because, again, there really is a way to tap into that. It's just, again, finding what you feel comfortable doing and what makes you feel as authentic as possible without, really going past any, I don't know.
Might be something to check your Herp Society. I mean, like our Herp Society is pretty solid where they put on Reptile Fest where it's like a huge educational show where it's like basically, hey, we're a bunch of reptile nerds and we want to show everyone how cool they are. And I mean, most of these are just Herp Society members and they're just, kind of showing it off.
Right. And Herp Societies too. I mean, a lot of them just do just the general outreach programs, like say, a school's hosting a fest or whatever, like, they'll call, their local, right, or kids expos. Yeah. They'll call their Herp Society and, their Herp Societies are not, the Herp Societies are pretty good at saying, hey, we're going to be at this show, members needed or whatever. And, just bring some cool representations of things that you're producing. And, I think that'll get people excited, from there.
Absolutely. So as two young fellas trying to make it out there, what do you see as the future of Crosstown Exotics?
I mean, the biggest thing is probably full time, just going where like Colin and I wake up in the morning and it's like we're doing nothing but shows or, we got a production call, that's, I think, kind of what I'd
being more available, I guess.
Yeah. Not worrying like, hey, Mike, can you take this day off so we can do this bug show at a
school? Yeah, like imagine what you could do with all the time with expendable time.
Yeah. Yes. Like we would be, there's so many things that we've had, so many cool things that I'd like to do.
I think like
that we've had to pass up that
he's doing the critter classes and stuff because my job's kind of hard to get off, but I feel like get out of work on time to get there. But I feel like we could probably hit a couple more towns doing critter classes if we were going full time with Crosstown, where it's like we're doing like 10 park districts doing these little after school programs with them versus just what do we have, like 4?
We're at 4 park districts.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another thing. It just kind of
20 to 25 kids per class, which is insane. But
yeah, and each one of those kids could, who knows what they could potentially, you know, one of them could be the next big, like, you know, lizard breeder, snake breeder. Who knows? You know, it's
But even just having that type of interaction as a kid, I mean, I would have died for something like that. I mean, I think that would be so amazing. Like the last class I just brought, you know, Mortis the tortoise, his big 70-pound tortoise. I brought, you know, a Mexican black milk, or not Mexican black milk snake, a black milk snake, you know, jelly bean, and our rat snake, bull snake hybrid, Larry. And the kids were just,
what the hell?
So Rob Carmichael at Wildlife Discovery Center had a bull snake and a black rat snake on display, and thought that they were the same gender, and then realized he had missexed one of them and had a big clutch of rat bull snake hybrids. So it's a really cool looking snake. I'll post pictures of him later, but he's super chill. He looks more like a bull snake than he does a rat, but he definitely has more of a rat snake face than a bull snake head. But it's a really awesome snake. He's great at.
Does he have keeled scales?
Yes, he does actually. He does. So
that's just interesting.
It's definitely not as rigid as most bulls. It's a little softer. He's definitely got more of that. He's definitely got more of a bull snake or a rat snake face and more of the bull snake colors and scales.
Yeah, that is a crazy combo of animals that are very different.
Right. So, but I think the next step for me is just getting a house. I mean, right now I'm still with my roommates or my parents, whatever they want to be called. But yeah, just again, getting, you know, Mike, seeing what Mike has. I've got my stuff in the garage, just in the third car garage. It's like a big room in there. It's heated.
I actually have a building.
Right. He's got a building.
I don't like talk
I'm
about
getting
it
a little
enough,
jealous right now. Like
I have like an 800 square foot garage, and I'm like, I have a building.
Right. Mine is, mine's like, I'd call it the most organized hoarder's closet you've ever seen. And it's like, it's not like it's not like, you know, Brian Barczyk's Reptarian, but it's like Colin Langendorfer's Vision and Boa Files. So it's like, but, you know, again, everyone's happy, healthy, but it's like, I'd like to be able to just like not use a step stool to get to some of my animals because of like how
he's using vertical space very well.
So, but yeah, I'd like to just be able to spread out a little bit, give myself some space, you know, upgrade some enclosures and
move out.
I'm surprised you haven't moved in with each other yet.
I know.
You know what?
Talked about it, but sometimes too, like I feel like it might
it's
just
probably
be
good if we don't.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too, you know, like
I feel like we both get on each other's nerves because I'm as messy as I am. I'm very clean, and then you know, Mike is like,
we're messy.
Okay, well, you're not my mom. You're not my dad. And I'm just like, okay, well, sorry, like, you know, we're not. So we try to. We have that good separation of church and state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know our boundaries.
Yeah, that's something to where, I mean, obviously it's one thing to have a business relationship. It's another thing to live together. And it's another thing to live together with a business relationship. And it's just like, yeah, there's too many opportunities.
Right.
You realize you're describing your life right now.
I don't see this as a business.
Right. It's a business.
There's a relationship and there's the business relationship and we live together.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I just feel like it's a little different. Like
right, like Mike and I don't like
kiss.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's I guess we don't want to get too.
It's another layer of it. It's even more complicated than if y'all were living together. It's even
like an African song.
Wow. We are surely over our 2 hours, so I'm gonna put a pin in that. If someone wanted to reach out to you guys, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook. So we're on Facebook at Crosstown Exotics, Instagram at Crosstown_Exotics. And
if you swipe right on Tinder or Bumble,
Mike Levin, or
if you are in within 100 miles of Mike,
Bugboy 89.
Bugboy 89. That was high school.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know what you updated your profile to, but and I'm not. I mean, my profile might be on Tinder and Bumble still, but I'm not active. So, committed relationship to Chuck Savage. So, Charlene is what her birth name is, but I call her
shortens it to Chuck.
Chuck,
Nice.
Charles.
Nice.
Yeah, whatever.
Charles.
Yeah.
Well, you said before the show that, you were like, last time it was more question and answer. I feel like you really delivered on this one.
Yeah, you really went way the opposite direction.
Yeah. Thanks to Gentleman's Jack, our sponsor for this podcast.
Make you anything but a gentleman.
Thank you.
What's the Greg Hartle Cusco podcast now? Searchable by Reptiles. So
as Reptiles.
This podcast is sponsored by Jimmy Dean's Sausage.
That sounds like a good, wholesome Midwestern sponsor, there, sausage company.
Right.
Yes, our sponsor over here is Bucket List Moscato.
Ooh, nice.
And I drank some Bird Dog Peach Whiskey.
Bird Dog.
Bird Dog.
That sounds manly.
That sounds really manly.
That's more manly than my mutton chops.
That is mutton chops, yeah.
If someone wanted to reach out to us, they could go through our Bucket List sponsor, or they could find us on Instagram at Port City Python.
I'm confused where to find us.
I was just joking. It's a joke. Get it?
I'm kidding.
You ruined it.
Okay.
They can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, or on YouTube at Port City Pythons. They can buy snakes or shirts on our website.
See us at Spaghettisburg.
At portcitypythons.com is what I was going to say. They want to see us in person, hold some snakes, buy some snakes, see some peeps. See us at Spaghettisburg.
Sick.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
We'll
Thank
see you next
too.
week with a guest that we don't know who it is yet.
The suspense is killing me. Trust me. So, Colin and Mike, thank you so much for being here.
It was our pleasure.
Likewise, Melissa and Joe. It was great. Great time here.
It's good having a couple of good guys from Chicago.
Right.
Top quality guys. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a great episode, and we will catch you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go Bears. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Bears.
If only I still don't know how to end a live stream, so that's the issue.
Click that.
We did it. Go LA.